I'll be your host here on the Wisconsin Live Desk for the next hour or so. Okay, so we have a lot to get to today. We're going to check in with one of our Fox 6 reporters, Abril Preciado. She's doing an update for us on the local impact of the government shutdown that is now in its 28th day. In particular, she's going to focus on something that's a big concern to a lot of people, SNAP benefits. So according to the federal government, the SNAP program or SNAP benefits, that's basically food assistance, will be no more come November 1st because of this ongoing government shutdown. I want to pull up the SNAP website here because they actually have a notification for people who use it. Let's see what, okay. Yeah, when you log into the SNAP website, it's just fns.usda.gov/SNAP. There's like a warning or a notice that pops up on your screen, and it says as follows. Senate Democrats have now voted 12 times to not fund the food stamp program, also known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. Bottom line, the well has run out. At this time, there will be no benefits issued on November 1. We are approaching an inflection point for Senate Democrats. They can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures. Again, this is just what's going on. This is what I'm reading directly with you for the first time, clearly off of the government website, or reopen the government so that mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. Okay, so there is kind of a gridlock that's been going on now for officially 4 weeks over who's to blame here for this government shutdown, as you kind of just saw here. But regardless, I mean, whatever the reason is, if you rely on SNAP benefits, this is going to impact you, kind of regardless of what side of the aisle you are on. Democrats have said that, you know, there's plenty of money here to fund SNAP. They feel like Republicans are using it as a weapon. Basically, they're cutting off SNAP benefits in order to kind of get Democrats to give on the extension for the Obamacare healthcare subsidies that that Republicans do not want to fund, if that makes sense. Okay, so Abril is going to provide kind of a local update on that, how it would impact families here in Southeast Wisconsin. That is coming up at 1:15, but I'm hoping that it is sooner because also at 1:15, we have kind of a fun check-in. Marquette basketball is getting underway here, so we're going to check in with the women's basketball team. We've got a live camera there to kind of show you a behind-the-scenes look at their program. A big story this morning, though, is the weather story. I'm going to pull up here router 2 so you can see here. This is a live camera from Jamaica. As you can see here, you can't see much. Visibility is extremely low out there right now. I can tell you that it is official that Hurricane Melissa has officially made landfall. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, let's see if this works. I'm going to pull up our gnats here so that you can hear what this sounds like, this camera. Do you hear that? Listen to that wind. It's incredible. I don't want to blow your ears off, so I'll bring it down a little bit, but I just wanted you to hear kind of the gnat of that. We know that folks who live in the Jamaica area have been bracing for this now for days, since last week. This is a catastrophic hurricane here. I've heard meteorologists say that, you know, if there was such a thing as a Category 6 hurricane, which we know that it goes up to 5, this would be it. So that is just kind of how dangerous this system is, to kind of put that into perspective for you. We know that evacuation orders have been underway for quite some time. I'm going to pull up the Fox weather and see what they're saying. Yeah, they're calling it unsurvivable conditions, which is just so scary. We're talking wind speeds that could reach 185 miles an hour, but I have heard some numbers that it's more than that. I can't even fathom what that would feel like. Yeah, people are calling this a monster hurricane. This is just so sad for the people who live on that island, all of the work that will go into rebuilding. It's just so sad. Trying to get some more information for you here, but I keep getting videos. Okay. So, as of just a few minutes ago, yes, Hurricane Melissa makes catastrophic landfall in Jamaica with destructive winds, life-threatening flooding. The pressure within Hurricane Melissa was measured at 892 millibars. That's stronger than Katrina's 902 millibar minimum central pressure. That's before it made its catastrophic landfall. You might recall that along the U.S. Gulf Coast in August of 2005. Hurricane Melissa now ties for the number 3 spot on the all-time most intense hurricanes on record in the Atlantic Basin. Just kind of let that sink in there. This is happening again near New Hope, Jamaica is where it made landfall. It's a Category 5, 185 mph max winds, but I've also seen other reports that it was more in the 200s, so that's probably subject to change. We know that it made landfall at 1 o'clock Eastern, so it's noon our time today, October 28th, according to the National Hurricane Center. It's just incredible here to think about all the people that are going to be so impacted by this, whether it's getting supplies, power, getting to safety, you name it. So yeah, we're taking a live look here. This is what it looks like for people who live in Jamaica. Really, really terrifying stuff. We're going to check back in and I'll provide updates throughout the next hour here. But for now, I'm looking. I kind of want to see what's going on in D.C., so I'm going to pull that up here on our little router 4. I just saw J.D. Vance walk by. This looks like it's some sort of Senate stakeout. As you know, a lot of people all eyes are on kind of Capitol Hill right now as we are in day 28 of this government shutdown. So let's listen in really quick while I kind of catch my bearings elsewhere. Okay, so as you kind of heard right here, we are awaiting Senate leaders to come to the podium there and speak. But right now, and we just went to black. Okay, yeah, not much is going on there. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I'll keep you posted here. Oh my goodness. Okay, no. I think I want to go back down to router 2 because we just got some new kind of side-by-side cameras coming from Jamaica. We have 4 different cameras here. Oh my gosh, this is wild. I'm going to try to figure out exactly what we're looking at here. You're going to see how those cameras are shaking in the wind. And the sky just looks so dark and ominous. Look at those waves. Oh my gosh, you can see that tree like banging against that boat there. That is so scary. Wow. Oh my gosh. This is just next level. I could just stare at that all day. It's just so, doesn't even look real. It looks like something out of a movie here. Now, until I can get some more information on Melissa to tell you, I'm going to go now to the UN. They're having a briefing here. So let's listen in and see what's going on there. Okay, you're taking a live listen here into the UN.
Right now. Thank you.
This question was for you, Chris.
Well, first one for me. Earlier, I referred to the peace proposal. I didn't refer to it as a peace plan because it's not a plan, it's a proposal. And of the 20 points in the proposal, only 3 have been agreed between the combatants. And those 3 were the release of hostages living
we're
in
clearly
dead,
talking about the Middle East here.
And in return, the release of something like 1,750 Palestinian prisoners and detainees. Secondly, a complete ceasefire in Gaza itself. And third, the resumption of humanitarian aid at least the level of the aid that was provided during the course of the earlier ceasefire this year, so 600 trucks a day. Now, 600 trucks is less than the bare minimum, but even so, it is around 2 or 3 times the number of trucks that are actually entering Gaza since the ceasefire began. I can't answer the question who is violating the ceasefire. We haven't done the investigation on that. But quite clearly, the hostages have been released, apart from 12 bodies that are still being sought. The Palestinian prisoners and detainees have been released, but humanitarian aid has not been resumed at the levels that were agreed, and there is not a complete ceasefire taking place. This peace proposal was always precarious, right from the start, in spite of all the hoopla. It was always precarious. And it seems today, with fighting taking place in Rafah and Israeli bombing having resumed in the Rafah area, it is more precarious than ever. It is absolutely essential that a full, comprehensive ceasefire be implemented as a matter of urgency. It is absolutely essential that humanitarian aid be restored at least the level that was agreed. And in fact, more than that, because the International Court of Justice said last week that humanitarian assistance must be at a level to sustain life for Palestinian people. And even the 600 trucks a day is not sufficient for that. So these are matters that are absolutely essential. And then there must be serious negotiations between the parties, not between foreign states, but between the parties, the Israelis and the Palestinians, about the rest of the proposal and other matters that need to be resolved in securing true peace and true justice. And that must extend to all Palestine, not just to Gaza. So we are still a long way away from even seeing an effective ceasefire and effective delivery of humanitarian aid in Gaza. 2 of the 3 items that were agreed. And we are even further away from seeing any serious negotiations taken place. I would note in finishing, I would note that we are not much different at this point from the ceasefire that was agreed at the beginning of the year. It was agreed that these first steps take place, and then it was
Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. It looks like that United Nations briefing just kind of went out of nowhere there. It looks like it has now switched to the Senate stakeout cam. So, all right, I think what I'm going to do here is we're going to take a little break, and I will see you on the other side of it, just while we kind of catch our bearings. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back, everybody. Our big story this morning on the Wisconsin Live Desk is the weather story. Hurricane Melissa has officially made landfall as of noon our time, 1 o'clock local time, near New Hope, Jamaica. It made landfall as a Category 5 hurricane. It had 185 mile per hour max winds and 892 pressure. So this is an impactful storm. A lot of folks have been bracing for this for days. We're talking heavily destructive winds here, torrential rain, life-threatening flooding, landslides, as millions of residents pray for their safety while also remaining sheltered in place. So this is really serious. Again, this is something that we've been watching now since last week. The National Hurricane Center started issuing hourly advisories as the storm was moving onshore, warning people that this was, quote, the last chance to protect your life. Imagine hearing that from a local, from government officials, telling people that this was, yes, the last chance to protect their lives. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation, the NHC said. Take cover now. Failure to adequately shelter may result in serious injury and loss of life. Okay, so now obviously I want to bring in one of our weather experts here. We got Stephanie Barkello. She is joining us. There we go. She is joining us with an expert's view of this system. Steph, you know, we keep hearing from people over and over again just about how they've never really seen anything like this. Walk our viewers through, our listeners through, kind of what that means. Put this into perspective for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is one of the strongest storms on record in the Atlantic, in the Caribbean, and that's for wind as well as pressure. So it's a Category 5 storm, as we just talked about, with max sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, which makes it tied for second strongest hurricane when it comes just to wind in the Atlantic basin. Beating it, I believe, is Wilma with 190 mile per hour winds. And then the pressure, too, makes it one of the strongest as well. And I'll get to some of those stats after the fact. But Nicola, you kind of mentioned it, all the stats there with what we just experienced. It was just before noon that there was official landfall in western Jamaica near New Hope. And that was with those max sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, but wind gusts over 200 miles per hour. This is a massive storm, and actually this is kind of fascinating too. Notice how the eye wall has actually become a little bit smaller. That actually means that the storm is still very strong, if maybe even strengthening a little bit more. So fascinating to see a lot of this actually happening still in the moment, but you know, they're going to be dealing with potential storm surge over a foot, as well as additional rainfall potentially over a foot. And that's just in addition to some of the really strong wind that they'll be dealing with here through the rest of the day today. And then, Nicola, unfortunately, a second landfall is possible overnight tonight in Cuba, eastern Cuba. And that could still be a very strong Category 4, if not even maybe even still a Category 5 storm.
Steph, you know, obviously here in the Midwest, we're very fortunate that we do not have to worry about these things. But what is your understanding? Obviously, you follow these systems really closely in terms of, for people who live there, what can they do in this situation? What are their options?
Yeah, you know, this is tricky because it is an island. It's a mountainous region as well, meaning I think at the surface, flooding is even heightened. It's not a big island by any means. You know, infrastructure isn't perfect there. It certainly is not up to standards that we have here in the United States. You still have to do as much as you can to protect those buildings. I've heard from officials that higher ground, there's evacuation sites in the mountains that was actually recommended. But then also you have to think that because that's a slightly higher elevation, the wind may actually be even stronger in some of the mountains. So I hate to say it's a, you know, recipe for disaster here, but there's not a lot of positives coming out of this. But we know, even just from watching the storms in the last couple of years in Florida, there's always the prep that you have to take along the East Coast, boarding up windows. Number one is evacuating if you get that mandatory evacuation order, but there's a lot of prep that goes into it. During the storm, like right now, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it would be like to have family who's there, or even to be there yourself.
know.
Like, you have to just feel so helpless. Now, Steph, I wanted to ask you, I know oftentimes when we see powerful systems like this, we in America here will get some remnants of it. Usually they really lose steam, as you know, by the time they get to our shores.
Yeah.
Are there any areas that could be affected as a result of Melissa here?
You know, the East Coast still could see some maybe rougher surf or some rougher waters, but no, there's actually a cold front that's moving through Florida right now, and I do think that's going to help guide this storm east of our area.
Okay.
Now, that being said, Cuba is still going to get that second landfall, direct landfall overnight tonight. So that's a very quick turnaround for a storm to make another landfall. And then the islands around the Turks and Caicos could still be dealing with impacts from this as it continues to make its way up towards the northeast. Then it really should move eastward back out over water. But even, you know, places like Turks and Caicos, this storm could still be a category 2 or 3. So there's very little weakening, at least as we're looking at, you know, model runs right now, even as this progresses up towards the northeast. So direct impacts to, you know, Florida, the mid-Atlantic, maybe just some of that rougher surf, some of those rip currents. I'm not even expecting to see some of the impacts that those 2 other storms that we saw in previous months did to, you know, like the Outer Banks,
Sure.
because this will stay a little farther out towards the east, but just more so minimal impacts like that.
All right, Stephanie Baracella, one of our weather experts. Thank you so much. Of course, you'll have a full update. You know, if you follow her on social media, you're very good at updating that, but also tonight at 4 o'clock. Is that right?
Yes, you got it.
All right, Steph, thank you so much for your
No
time.
problem.
We appreciate it. Okay. Oh my goodness, it's overwhelming when you think about it. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be one of those people who's living in Jamaica right now and seeing all these reports and hearing all these things like catastrophic and you know, unprecedented. It doesn't exactly sit well, I can imagine. Okay, so now that we checked in with Steph, we're going to take another quick break, kind of catch our bearings here, and
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, everybody. Okay, so we have a very high stakes race that is going on right now in the state of Virginia. We're talking about the gubernatorial race. The election is 1 week from today, and the candidates on both sides are out in full force right now to get out their vote. We know right now, I'm going to take you to a rally. This is for former CIA employee and former Virginia Representative Abigail Spanberger. This is a rally for her right now. It kind of looks like she's doing a meet and greet with her supporters. She's going to face off next week against Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, a Jamaican immigrant and Marine veteran. Now, this election comes after a handful of historic firsts, or with a handful of historic firsts, including Earl Sears becoming the state's first black female nominee for governor in a race that ultimately will result in Virginia electing the first female governor, regardless of which party wins in the general election. So this is a big deal next week. We know that President Barack Obama will head to Virginia on Sunday to headline a political rally for Spanberger in Norfolk after endorsing her in a pair of political ads earlier in October. So that is going on right now. This is a really big week for Virginia. Let's just kind of take a listen in now to this rally and see what's going on there.
Bring the beat in. Honey, honey, I can see the stars all the way from here. Can't you see the glow on the window pane? I can feel the sun whenever you're near. Every time you touch me, I just melt away. Now everybody asks me why I'm smiling up from ear to ear. But I know.
Yeah, I hope so. It's just not right now.
The fight through my tears. And finally you put me first. Baby, it's you.
I'm just struggling.
You're the one I love. You're the one I need. You're the only one I see. Come on, baby, it's you. You're the one that gives your all. You're the one I can always call when I need to make everything stop. Finally, you put my love on top. Oh, come on, baby. You put my love on top, 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 top. You put my love on top. Oh, oh, come on, baby. You put my love on top, 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 top. My love on top, baby.
Okay, yeah, you were taking a live look here at a campaign rally in the Virginia gubernatorial race, which now is 1 week from today. That is when voters in Virginia will head to the polls to cast their ballots in this really high-stakes election. We know that based on early polling, it seems as though the woman that you're looking at right here is ahead right now amongst her opponents. This would be, though, a history-making race. We know that the most recent survey finds that Spanberger is up 7 points over Earl Sears. But when you take into account the margin of error, this is basically a dead heat in the days leading up to the election next week. So, okay, now I should mention we were keeping an eye on two different stories for you here now. We're taking a live look now at the Senate stakeout cam, where we are awaiting an update here from Senate leaders on any movement or progress here in the government shutdown. We know that there is some increased pressure on both sides to get a deal done here before crucial federal benefits run out to people, the most recent of which being SNAP benefits. It's been announced will end on November 1st, which is Sunday. We're also keeping an eye on what appears to be, thanks Delaney, a press briefing, by Hakeem Jeffries that is set to begin here hopefully any minute. I think it was supposed to start at 1 o'clock, so it's a few minutes behind schedule. So, oh, there we go. Okay, so let's listen in as Speaker Hakeem Jeffries takes to the podium to provide an update on the government shutdown now in its 28th day.
To make clear that we will sit down with our Republican colleagues anytime, any place here at the Capitol or back at the White House in order to reopen the government, enact a bipartisan spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people, and address the health care crisis that Republicans have caused that is devastating people all across the country, in working class America, rural America, urban America, small town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities throughout America, particularly at this point, given the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. That will cause premiums, copays, and deductibles to increase by tens of millions of people by thousands of dollars per year. At the same time, Republicans are now threatening to weaponize hunger against the American people and withhold funding for nutritional assistance for children and seniors and veterans and women. This is on top of the fact that in the one big ugly bill that Republicans passed in July, in addition to a nearly $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, Republicans enacted the largest cut to SNAP in American history, $186 billion cut. They ripped food from the mouths of children, seniors, veterans, women, and families in order to provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors. It's completely and totally unacceptable. And on top of that, now they are threatening to withhold funding that the Trump administration has in a contingency fund in ways that will deprive everyday, hard-working American taxpayers of the nutritional assistance they need to put food on the table. It's now my honor to yield to the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Leader, for convening this press event today and on this particular issue, which is really so critical. And I want to say a thank you to my colleague, Angie Craig, and as the ranking member on agriculture. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for your leadership on this very, very critical issue that we're talking about today. I want to start by making one thing abundantly clear. What President Trump is doing on the hunger issue and on the nutrition issue is immoral. I am the ranking member on the Appropriations Committee, and I promise you that there is funding available to provide SNAP benefits beyond November 1st. There is, at the very least, over $5 billion in contingency funds that Congress set aside. Congress, Democrats and Republicans, set aside explicitly to pay out SNAP benefits in the event of some unforeseen circumstances, like President Trump's shutdown. They are, in fact, by doing this, in violation of the Empowerment Control Act of 1974. The contingency funding that we set aside for SNAP is not optional spending. It is required by the law. We appropriated that money for this purpose. The White House must spend it, and what they are doing right now, blocking these funds from going out, is illegal. As a matter of fact, on October 1st, they took $750 million from this fund to deal with with paying benefits in Puerto Rico and providing administrative costs to other states. So they acknowledge that this fund can be used in order to deal with SNAP benefits. There's nothing stopping the Trump administration from making sure that every single one of the 42 million Americans, 16 million children, 8 million seniors, 4 million people with disabilities, 1.2 million veterans receive nutrition assistance in November. And we are at a cost of living crisis with skyrocketing food costs. And President Trump is doing right now is using the fear that so many working people have about where their next meal is coming from as a political bargaining chip. Does anyone actually believe for 1 second that if President Trump really wanted to cover the SNAP benefits, they would not be able to find the money? When he wanted to bail out his buddy in Argentina, they found $40 billion. When he wanted to build a new ballroom to host his billionaire donors, they found $350 million. They found the money. When he wanted to make sure his Homeland Security Secretary.
Okay, you are listening
could
in
fly
to
in
an
style
update that
on
is being
2 new luxury
hosted
private
by
jets.
Senate
They
Minority
found
Leader
the
Hakeem
money,
Jeffries.
$170
He
million.
and
But
other
now,
representatives are speaking on the potential for SNAP benefits to run out on November 1st. According to the SNAP website, it says that Senate Democrats have now voted 12 times to not fund the food stamp program, also known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. It says, bottom line, the well has run out. Now, what Democrats are arguing is that there is more money available to keep SNAP benefits going through Sunday, and that Republicans are essentially using it, weaponizing it, as we continue here this budget battle that's now been going on for a month in our nation's capital. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of activity right now on Capitol Hill. I think it looks like Vice President J.D. Vance is speaking, so I want to take a listen to that here if we can.
They want to.
Okay, it sounds like here that is J.D. Vance who's talking and answering questions on the government shutdown. I heard him talking about something regarding payment for our troops. But it's hard to make out what he's saying. Okay, it sounds like this most recent question here was about the war in Gaza.
Yeah, look, we talked about that, and the point that I think that my Republican colleagues, recognizing there's a diversity of opinions about it, is that the tariffs give us the ability to put American workers first. They force American industry to reinvest in the United States of America instead of a foreign country. They're also incredible leverage for the President of the United States in negotiating these trade deals overseas. If you look at what we're doing in Asia, if you look at all of the trade deals, the trade barriers that have been dropped by foreign countries on American consumers, they are happening because the President of the United States has been willing to use tariffs to give American workers, American farmers a better deal. To vote against that is to strip that incredible leverage from the President of the United States. I think it's a huge mistake, and I know most of the people there agree.
Okay, it sounds like Vice President J.D. Vance there just walked away. He was talking about the government shutdown. He also was talking about the ceasefire going on in the Middle East, saying that it is holding. Obviously, there's going to be some slips, but he says it is holding. In the past, he's characterized it as going, quote, better than expected. That was during a visit that he made to Israel a little bit ago. He was sent over there to kind of keep an eye on things, as this peace deal is a little bit fragile. Okay, now I feel like I've got to take you to another campaign event. This one is happening also in Virginia for the gubernatorial race, which, as we just talked about, is now a week from today. I believe this is a event for Republican candidate Winsome Earl Sears. So we're going to listen into what she has to say. This is a really high stakes race next week in Virginia.
Looking towards the future, and that's why we're here, isn't it? That's why we're here. This is about our future. And before I also go any further, let me get my list, because I'm famous for forgetting somebody just because there's so many people. So I see that the rest of us who have fled Richmond, A.C. Cardoza, you are here. Wonderful. And Shannon Green. Listen, folks. If they don't win, we don't win back the Senate. If they don't win, we don't win back the Senate. Winning starts with them. So we need everybody to get out and vote, every single soul. All right, Senator Diggs, you're not up, but we want to talk about you anyway. We're so glad to. This is yours. This is where. This is yes. This is his place. What he said. And then, of course, we've got Kitty. Where's Kitty? Ah, there you are, Kitty. Yes, wonderful. And Sheila Knoll, and Kristen Nelson, and Tom Shepard. Hey. All the way in the back. And we've got some school board folks. Yes. Yes. You know, a lot of times, we've said in the past, when it came to school, and Phil Hamilton, our former delegate. You know, we've said, when it comes to school board races, or we used to say, you know, they're not important. Don't we know school board races are important now? I don't care if it's chief dog catcher, we're going out and voting for him. The chief dog catcher, because it's important. Every election, we always say, is important, and that's because it builds on itself. And let me tell you, if we don't win in November, which we will, but my opponent, Abigail Spanberger, will tear down everything that we've accomplished.
We're listening live here to a campaign event that is being hosted by Republican gubernatorial candidate Winsome Earl Sears.
What do I mean? What am I talking about? Who asked that question? Oh, I asked that question.
She's an interesting candidate. She's from Kingston, Jamaica originally.
How many of you?
She's a businesswoman. She was a Marine Corps veteran. She was the state's first female lieutenant governor, and she was the first woman of color ever elected statewide.
They were left by a Republican governor with a $3 billion surplus. With 2 years of this current Democratic governor,
Okay. Well, now we are going to take a little bit of another breather here, and we've got Abril Preciado on the other side of this break, bringing us up to speed on SNAP benefits and the impact that those have in our
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, everyone. My name is Nicola Junowitz. It is Tuesday, October 28th at 1:19 p.m. And a story that we've been following closely this afternoon on the Wisconsin Live Desk is what is going on with federal food assistance. We're talking about SNAP benefits here. They are set to expire come Sunday, November 1st. This is due to the government shutdown. Now, Democrats argue that Republicans are using this as sort of a weapon here, a tool to put pressure on Democrats because they would essentially be ending food assistance programs that help so many people across our country. But Republicans are saying, no, that's not the reason that we're ending these benefits on Sunday. We're doing it because the well has run dry. They say the money is just not there. So regardless of, which side you believe or don't believe, if you are a recipient of SNAP benefits in the state of Wisconsin, this is something that is going to affect you, it sounds like, come Sunday. So breaking it down for us now, we have our fabulous reporter, Abril Preciado. She's joining us now live to tell us about her story that she's working on today. Hey, Abril, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Nicola. So yes, we're out here on near 39th and Blades, right here outside of the Hmong American Fellowship a center where it normally is known for its food pantry. Now, just maybe 30 minutes ago, we kind of just saw the food distribution kind of wrapped up. And let me just, the reason why I'm here on this specific corner is because this is usually where the line usually ends up based on what people told me. Well, today it went all around there, maybe all the way towards where you see kind of like the rocky kind of like wall of the building. That's how many people that we saw out here, and many of them kind of lining up, maybe a little bit over an hour before doors officially opened right here at the center. And we saw different people that we spoke to, people that, either don't receive SNAP and people that do benefit from them. And many of them were kind of afraid to go on camera as well because, it's already a difficult, a touchy subject to really touch on, especially when it comes to, needing food. But many of them did express to me that it's tough and they're feeling it. We did speak to one lady that spoke to us. She's 64 years old, and she says that it is quite a difficult time. She actually depended on SNAP for many years because she's dealing with a lot of health situations that she's going through, and her SNAP was cut just last year. And she says that since her SNAP was cut, that's what made her come to this place to get food. And she just pretty much showed her sympathy because she was like, I'm 64 years old and I can't work because of my medical situations. I can only imagine those families that are, in need of this food, that are trying to get this food to feed their kids, and now they can't. So now they have to come to resources like this one right here, where they're also struggling to continue to provide a lot of food for people and folks that need it in the neighborhood. We did speak today with the executive director of the facility, who tells us that just over the past couple of weeks, they received hundreds of calls from people that have been calling in to ask how they can get help with food. Like right now, as you can see, we're seeing many people kind of still like digging in through some of the food that has been remaining or is left over from the food pantry or the food distribution that was held here today. Once again, as mentioned, they have received several calls from people that are concerned about their SNAP benefits kind of ending and what they can do to get food assistance. They're saying that, while, food is tight right now as well, and they're trying to work as hard to make sure that everyone gets fed, it's also a difficult time for them, and they're trying to see in a way that they can continue to provide the service for people. Now, what we were told is that right now they are about, serving about 32,000 people per year right here. And that number has just gone up like within the last year. And I feel like it just shows like the severity that we're seeing right now. As mentioned, right now, so what's really special about this area, about this food distribution center, is the fact that they kind of do it like people line up and they could either get it outside. The outdoor distribution food is over, but right now this is the indoor food distribution, and only a certain amount of people can go inside at least once a month to choose and select different food products out here. As we can see, we're going to give you guys a little glimpse of what we see right here. Once again, there's a couple of food products. The executive director did tell us that, this goes to show like how much needed it is, that we're seeing different shelves that are a little empty. People are grabbing food right now just to feeding, and we're kind of giving you guys a glimpse. I'm so sorry, excuse me. We're gonna show you guys just kind of like what they're getting, and they can definitely just choose. They can choose what they need and whatnot, which is really good. But as we can see, you know, there are different shelves, and it really just puts it into perspective of how much need there is. And look, there's even signs up here that say like extras, do not take for storage only, or stuff like that. Pretty much letting people know, and there are even like limits of how many cans of like for example pears right here that people can take. So it kind of just puts it into perspective. And again, you know, we are seeing still people that are in line right now, trying to get a hold of these services as well. But it kind of just puts it into perspective as well. And pretty much that's what we have been seeing. Definitely very sad news for many families, and yeah, a difficult time, you know, for sure.
Yeah, Abril, I mean, such a wonderful resource here. I mean, I'm just looking now at your camera here, and you have all this fresh food. I mean, I've seen things like, okay, this is hazelnuts. They had rice. They had fresh produce, bananas. They had squash, fruits, pears, you name it. I love that places like this exist where people have the ability to come in and pick food that they actually want to eat, right? Like, it's not something that they're being given, it's something that they get to take, which is a really kind of a lovely resource for them. And I was actually just going to ask you, you know, if you were seeing people who were maybe trying to just get a little bit more to get them through next week, or when, I should say, their SNAP benefits run out on Sunday. Have you seen people who are maybe, or have organizers told you that maybe people are trying to take more than they normally would?
El Canal 6? El Canal 6, sí, sí. Sí, ahorita estoy en vivo, perdón. I'm so sorry, somebody just asked me a question in Spanish. They're asking me from what channel I was reporting from. I didn't want to be rude. But yes, I have been asked, I have been, based on what I was talking to with people that we saw here today, many of them did say that, you know, they're going to try to like either save as much as the food that they got, so they can kind of like, I guess, I would say like maybe like try to spread it and stretch it out as much as they can for the upcoming weeks, because once again, as you mentioned, you know, that is going to be cutting on Sunday, and so if this may be possibly their only source of food or fresh food, better to say it, that they're going to be having for the next who knows how long, you know. So we definitely did see that, at least from the people that we spoke to off camera. They said that it's very difficult, even if many of them say like, well, it was like $100, but $100 is a lot for a lot of people, especially right now with growing grocery prices. Many of them were mentioning the fact that meat is so expensive nowadays, and how, you know, SNAP was literally allowing them to purchase that meat so they can feed their kids, and now, you know, that's going to be gone. So definitely a hard pill to swallow for sure. I know something that the executive director from this food distribution center was telling us was the fact that, you know, he himself is an immigrant as well, and he himself was also grew up in the area, and, you know, saw himself starving. So he definitely feels the sympathy and empathy for people that are going through these hardships, because this is food that they rely on to really feed their family. So definitely, you know, obviously this is something that's still developing, and we're continuing to just kind of provide you guys with more information. Again, as mentioned, you know, this is just one of the many centers that are available here in Milwaukee that provide these food distributions for folks. Something else that was really mentioned to me today as well is the fact that you know, if they run out of food in one place, they refer them to another. And that's pretty much what got me here. I called a food distribution center earlier today, and they told me that they were done for the day after an hour. They said that they weren't even able to feed everyone that went to that center. And they told me, but you can go to this center, which is where we're at right now. They're like, they're having one at noon. So, and that's where we came, and yeah, I mean, as we can see, almost everything is gone. We saw the shelves inside, and this is pretty much the remaining produce that we're seeing right here. So we can definitely really sense the high demand, especially here locally.
Abril Preciado, thank you so much for your reporting this afternoon. A really important story to tell about how our area food pantries are really stepping up to help in a time when people who rely on food share benefits are just panicking with that November 1st deadline fast approaching. All right, Abril Preciado, thank you so much. When will your reports be airing tonight on our news?
Yes, at 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m.,
so
all right.
You can stay tuned for more coming up.
We'll look forward to that. Abril Preciado, thank you so much for your reporting this afternoon. We certainly do appreciate it. Okay. So now we're going to change gears quite a bit, a little bit of a hard left, if you will. I want to take you to Media Day for Marquette women's basketball. Okay, I'm just going to fire this up here on remote set. Okay. Bear with me here. Okay. Let's take this now, if we can. We're going to listen in to a media press conference that is going on right now at Marquette University ahead of their women's basketball season.
As much as I did last year. She improved her skill level overall, and now she's really working to improve her IQ as a point guard. So we've been able to play her at that position quite a bit in this preseason, where last year we really didn't want her there at all. And so it just gives us another option. Now you got Liv, KP, and Jay, all with the ability to run our offense.
We talked in the summer about how excited you were for JJ to kind of take out her status.
Yeah, unfortunately, JJ suffered an injury and she is out for the season. So her, along with Ariel Stevens, also suffered an injury in the summer, and both of them are out for the season. So that is unfortunate for both of them. But they've done a great job already in their rehab, been great teammates. And now JJ, as a freshman, is going to have to learn from the sideline. And the great thing about it is she's got some really great guards that she can learn from.
Just kind of talk to a player like that who obviously so excited to start her college career and then has to take the lead.
Yeah, it was difficult. Difficult for her family, for us. She has such high expectations, again, being a kid from in-state. But, you can't control those things, and that's a big thing we talk about in our program. We have to control what we can control. I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason, and her mindset and her attitude and her positivity has been tremendous, and that's going to serve her well in her rehab.
What could it do for a team's chemistry? You guys returned everybody, added a couple newcomers, but really everybody's back. It's kind of business as usual. Like, where's the team's chemistry kind of at? How can you kind of build off that from last year?
Well, I think, we're playing together better, certainly at this time of year, than we were last year. We understand each other's strengths. We understand each other's weaknesses. We know the right things to say to each other when we need to call each other up. And I think our offense is certainly ahead of where we were last year because of it. That's where I'm seeing it the most. I think defensively we were really solid. Our chemistry will continue to grow defensively, where we can be one of the best defensive teams in the league. But I think where you're going to see it most is our offense and sharing the ball, moving the ball, putting people in the right positions.
You talk about having more space this year, let Skylar go to work a little bit. How have you seen that play out so far?
Yeah, I think we're shooting the ball better all the way across the board. And so it's, again, a credit to our returners who were really challenged to get in the gym this summer, work on their shooting so that we could just be more confident and shoot the ball more in rhythm. And then certainly bringing in players like Jordan, Cam, and even JJ before she was hurt. All three of them have the ability to space the floor for us.
You guys following up on that with Jordan being another in-state player, just kind of what did you expect from her where she's new to you, obviously, but she's been experienced?
Yeah, Jordan's going to create a huge impact on this team for a couple reasons. One, she fit exactly what we needed out of the portal. A big guard that can shoot and defend, has championship experience, has Big East experience. So, again, I'm not sure we could have gotten a better player out of the portal. And you're right, even though she's new to us, she knows the game. She's played at a high level and being in the Big East. And so for her, it's just small adjustments about learning our scheme, learning what I want, but she's a really fast learner.
You guys are picked number 2 in the Big East. I'm sure as a coach you don't want to worry too much about outside expectations, but internally for you, what are your expectations for this team?
Well, my expectations are the same every year, to build and build and build and get better. And, I told the team, last year we didn't care where we got picked. Why do we care suddenly now? It shouldn't matter to us. What matters is our circle and everybody inside our circle. And we have high expectations for ourselves. So every day for us, it's about getting better. It's about focusing on all the little things that brought us success last year. And so that's our values, that's our culture, that's our winning plays. If we keep our minds on the right things, we can have a really successful year.
With Skylar and Lee playing in competition over the summer, is there any difference in playing in competition versus conditioning? Is there any difference in staying in shape in that matter?
No, I mean I think you can get you can get conditioning from both. But what international experience brings them is just the ability to play at a higher level against some really good players. And what I really like, both of them played in the 3x3 what I really like about that is they don't allow the coaches to coach in that. So now you're competing at a really high level, and you have to do all the self-coaching. And I think that was great for both of them in terms of their leadership.
How does it feel as a coach to have the most Marquette players earn the East Honor Rolls since 2018 as a coach?
I didn't know that, so I don't really care. But I appreciate you knowing that. What I care about is that, Sky and Hallie and Lee continue to just do what they're doing. Those three have earned those accolades because of the way that they've worked and the mindset that they've had. And so regardless of what others think of them, we already know that about them. And so for them, they just need to keep working.
There are some parallels, obviously, with Shaka's, how he runs his program and keeping people. Have you discussed that with him? Like, just kind of what sort of relationship do you have with him?
We have a great relationship. Shaka is probably the first person that texts me after every win. He was the first person that texted me when I won Coach of the Year. And I think that speaks volumes to the camaraderie in this building. And I think we're really lucky to have a men's and women's program that operates similar. Obviously not the same, but I think we value a lot of the same things: culture, relationships, being leaders at a holistic university. And that makes it fun because then you got a lot of people walking down this hallway that believe in the same things. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. I didn't mean it.
No, you're good. You're good. No,
that was a great question.
Alrighty, if you are just joining us, we've been listening in here in Marquette as the women's basketball team is speaking out, getting ready for their new season, which is always just so exciting that we're back at basketball time. I'm Haley Spittler. I'm taking over here until 2:30 from Nicola. And then I believe, Delaney, it's Kim?
Yeah, it's Kim.
Yes, then our very own Kim Murphy will be taking over at 2:30 to get you to 3:30 because, of course, Wisconsin Live Desk is Monday through Friday from 12:30 to 3:30. Hey, we were just talking about Marquette basketball, but also look at this. The Bucks are playing again tonight at Fiserv. And it's Breast Cancer Awareness Night because October is, of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So they wanted to go ahead and honor those who are in the fight and those who have already won the battle. Of course, the game tonight tip-off is at 7 p.m. They'll be playing the New York Knicks. Everybody who attends the game at Fiserv is going to receive a rally towel. They're also going to have a very special in-game moment to honor those who have been impacted by breast cancer. I was at Fiserv last Wednesday for their home opener, and they actually have an entire line of gear that they made this season for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, with a part of the proceeds going towards research. So if you're in need of some new gear, might I recommend those items? Or I'm sure you could wear your pink and your green tonight, which used to be my favorite color combination. We call those watermelon colors. Did you ever like watermelon colors, Delaney?
I did.
Oh,
now I think about watermelon
Wicked.
colors as Wicked. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I was just thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I bet you that's basically like the Wicked colors now.
Yeah, now it's Wicked colors, but growing up, it was watermelon colors.
So sure. Are you more Alphaba or more Glinda?
I can never decide. What about you?
I love Alphaba, but I think I'm more of a Glinda. But Alphaba has more of my favorite songs. Like, I love The Wizard and I love No Good Deed. Yeah. Delaney now has a guest. I'll pull her off. We're actually going to head back out to Marquette because we're hearing here from a player. Let's listen in here.
They've been super bought into how we do things as well, and them kind of being super coachable has been an incredible factor to that and kind of been helping with the continuity of our offense.
What's it like having Lee and Abby back for that extra season?
It's awesome. They are two great leaders and two great basketball players, but even better people. So to be able to spend that extra year with them is awesome.
You had the chance to play in the 3-on-3 in the summer for Canada. Just how was that experience for you?
It was really cool. It was definitely new. I've never done 3-on-3 before, but it was a great learning experience for me. Kind of just being able to bring back like the next play mentality because I don't have time to think on the court there. Being able to transfer that onto 5-on-5, it's been great for me to kind of have that mindset.
Coach kind of talked about some of the differences. There's no coach, you guys kind of got to figure things out for yourselves. And on top of that, just what are some of the differences, from playing threes compared to fives traditionally?
The no coach is a big one, But I mean, it's based off of how well you guys can move off the ball. I think 3-on-3 is a very versatile basketball game. So kind of, I guess, you're constantly moving. Like, there's no stop, there's no start. It's just go, go, go. And I think that's a little bit different. Obviously, another thing, you don't have to run down and back the floor, but yeah.
How does having so much like team familiarity, how does that kind of adjust or change any internal expectations of what you feel like this team can accomplish?
I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, it doesn't change much. I think we all have one common goal, and that's to get to the NCAA tournament. All of us are super deeply rooted in that and just wanting to show up and be the best that we can every day.
What's it been like getting to know Jordan? Was it like a new player for you all, kind of like a freshman and stuff? Versus obviously an older player who's
It's been amazing having Jordan on this team. She's such a bubbly and positive light for us. Has that next play mentality. Great person off the floor. I love hanging out with her and spending my extra time with her. So it's been amazing for her to join this team and to be able to get to know her.
Just personally, just kind of where do you feel your game is at, or is there anything that you're maybe hoping to improve on this season?
My turnovers. Another thing I've been working on is not traveling, so going off of 2 feet. I think those are the biggest things for me to improve on. And kind of just growing onto my game, figuring out what counters are going to work, because now that I've been scouted, it's kind of known how I do things, so just kind of be able to counter those.
Kind of looking at the spring, and then obviously in the summer in the 3-on-3, facing maybe a different level of competition. Just how do you feel like that experience kind of prepared you for your next season here at Marquette?
I think it helped me in the sense of leadership. I think as well, just kind of being able to be like, hey, maybe we should try this, maybe we should try that. But I mean, also just staying in the moment. That's something I've been working on as well. So I would say translating that over here.
Very good. Thanks, Kyle.
Yes, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Alrighty, we were just listening again right here to some media availability with the Marquette women's basketball team. I'm going to leave it up this time just in case another friendly face pops up, because last time I thought we were done and then we got to hear from a player. But of course, it is basketball season. We were talking Bucks, but pretty soon here we're going to have collegiate basketball, which I would argue I might like better than the NBA. I went to Loyola. I was a Loyola Rambler. And of course, our men's basketball team back in 2018 had a Cinderella run during March Madness, making it to the Final Four. And there's just something special about basketball hoops. And I have actually loved, I feel like in the last couple of years, seeing women's basketball really gain a fandom and get just as many people sometimes in the audience and in the crowd as the men's teams are pulling. So that's been really great to see. It does look like we're going to get to hear from another player. So I'm going to bring this back up and we will listen in again.
So you had a senior day last year. What was the process of getting this extra year? Can you take us through the whole thing?
Yeah, it was a bit of a process. It's something I was working on my whole time at Marquette. And it was something that we didn't know until kind of, I think it was postseason last year. So it was a little bit stressful. So we went ahead and did senior day just to make sure I could have that experience with my family and the team. But I'm really happy I get to do it again.
How did you were you mentally ready to move on, or how did you?
No, not at all. I was really thankful to be able to have the extra year, but it was kind of a heavy weight. So I'm really excited to have this year just be a little bit lighter and just be able to play, not worry about it.
What do you think it guys says about your guys' program that everybody wanted to come back? You guys returned everybody. Just what do you think that says about what's being built here?
I think it speaks directly to Coach Kara and the culture that she's built here in her first year. I think the way that she builds relationships makes practice and games and everything super fun, but still is able to hold us super accountable and help us get better. So I think those things combined just really brought everyone back.
Obviously a coaching change after your first year here. You stay with Kara. How has your relationship kind of grown with her over the past year or so?
Yeah, she's super intentional with it. Makes a lot of time for us. I think she takes time to understand who we are as people and who we are as basketball players, and what helps us play our best. So it's been great.
How does having so much continuity, so much familiarity with players on the team, how does that kind of adjust, or if it does adjust at all, any internal expectations of what you guys can accomplish?
I don't think it changes expectations, but I think that playing with your best friends makes the game more fun and makes you play better. So it's great, and I'm really thankful that I get to do it.
Obviously, you had to probably go through a unique process, but generally, were you surprised that everyone came back, or was that something that you had talked about as a team?
It's not something we necessarily talked about, but I wasn't surprised at all. And I think, again, it just speaks to Coach Kara and the culture she's built here and how it spreads for the whole staff and university and everything.
How do you think that having everybody back can help on the court?
I think it's a huge advantage. I think even in the summer, like we can start right away, kind of getting into things, and then pulling along our 2 freshmen and Jordan, our transfer, like they're doing great too. So they're going to be a huge help for us.
After transferring, why do you think this season in particular feels so different than the other years at Marquette?
I think it just it's really the last one, so I just really want to make it count.
Kara's talked about wanting to have improved shooting numbers this season.
Mm-hmm.
How much was that a focus for you in the offseason?
Yeah, I think, my position group is the wings or the shooters, and then bringing in Jordan as well. It was a huge focus for us as a team, and I think it's really going to show through all the work we put in over the summer.
What was your experience like on that 3-on-3 World University Games team?
Yeah, it was super fun. Probably one of the most fun things I've ever done, to get to go over there and play basketball against some great players, and a little bit different too. 3-on-3 is definitely a different game, so it was a cool, unique experience.
It was in Germany, right?
It was, yeah.
Did you get around the country at all? What was the highlight of just the off-the-court experience?
The off-the-court experience? Probably just hanging out with those kids and all the connections that the basketball world has, and then getting to see, we got to go to Dusseldorf and try some streusel. It was pretty good. I would eat again. So yeah, it was really fun.
What were some of the, sorry. I was going to say, how do you feel like your leadership has kind of grown, and how do you feel like you can translate that to on-court success?
Yeah, I feel like this year just knowing everyone a little bit better and knowing how each other play so much better, it's a lot easier to hold each other a little more accountable because we know we're doing it for the right reasons. And so the give and response has been just heightened, I guess, by that.
What did training kind of look like for that 3-on-3? And then what were some of the main differences? You mentioned threes are different than fives. What were some of the main differences you noticed in that?
We play 3-on-3 in the summer to finish every workout as a team here at Marquette because it's just a great conditioner, and you get to know how to read ball screens and stuff like that. So for that specific trip, I went to Cincinnati for 3 days and practiced with them, and then went over there for 7 days. So that was really close.
But you had never met them before?
Never met them. I flew by myself to Cincinnati and got off and was like, "Hi, how are you guys?" So it was crazy.
You got Abby back too for the fifth season. What's it like having her around for another season?
Again, one of my best friends, and she's so great for the team because of her leadership. She brings the energy every day and makes sure that if we're low, she brings us right back up. So really happy I get to do it with her.
Just overall in that 3-on-3 experience, how did you feel like it went for you personally, and overall, just what were you able to take for it that's going to prepare you for this season, you feel like?
Yeah, I think it let me figure out different ways to score, and it's a lot of a one-on-one game. So I think just being aggressive in that way. And then as far as carryover, it's still basketball, just the pace of it. And getting to play live and competitively, it's really hard to wait for games. So it was fun to be able to have the extra opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it.
Alrighty, hearing a little bit more. That was from Lee Volker, a graduate student this year. She's a guard for Marquette there. And I love that she was talking about a little trip overseas this off season where she said she had some streusel. She gave it a good review, said she would absolutely have it again. So I thought we should ask Delaney if she's ever had any streusel.
Well, at first, I was like, I have no idea what that is. But
Yeah.
then I looked it up. I think I've had it on top of a blueberry muffin before.
Yeah, it says, in baking and pastry making, streusel is a crumbly topping of flour, butter, and sugar that is baked on top of muffins, breads, pies, and cakes. So I've definitely had streusel, and I would also give it a good review.
I agree.
Yeah. I like that. Well, it is basketball season because it is, of course, the fall. And here in Wisconsin, we're okay with our forecast. But we have, of course, our eyes and our hearts in Jamaica, where Hurricane Melissa has made landfall. So I want to go ahead and bring in our very own Stephanie Barrichello. She's been forecasting and tracking and covering this storm for us. And Stephanie, what is the very latest here?
Sure. The good news, if there is any at all, is that it's weakened just a very small amount, and that's because it has now made landfall. It was shortly before noon that we saw official landfall in western Jamaica near New Hope. It was, it is still a Category 5, but at the time of landfall, it had max sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, wind gusts over 200 miles per hour, and even zooming in, the eye is not as distinct, so you can actually tell now that there is some weakening, which is very normal as it starts to hit land. It starts to take a little bit of that oomph away from it, a little bit of the energy, and break it apart. It's eyeing, we'll say soon, Montego Bay, and then it will continue to make its way up towards the north and eventually northeast. This hurricane is expected to make a second landfall overnight tonight in eastern Cuba. So unfortunately, we are not done talking about this storm. So here's the latest stats on it. It is still a Category 5 storm. Winds down from 185 to 165. really not going to notice a difference, even with that, slight decrease in wind. That is still catastrophic wind that they are dealing with. Gusts haven't changed at all. Still potentially 220 miles per hour. Now, this is a really intense storm. The island of Jamaica, especially western Jamaica, expecting to see rainfall totals potentially of 15 to 30 inches, which is a lot of rain, as we all know. Storm surge potentially between 9 and 13 feet. Now that's kind of on, we'll say, the southern side of Jamaica, up towards the northernmost side, or the top side. I'm sure there's a more scientific way of saying that. They're expecting to see just a little bit less, because remember, this storm is moving in from the south, but still, of course, some storm surge as we see the circulation as it moves through throughout the evening, throughout the afternoon and evening. And then as we put the track in motion for you here, you'll notice, as we just talked about, overnight tonight, second landfall expected. Still a major hurricane too, whether that's a high-end category 3 or maybe a low-end category 4, but parts of Cuba going to see the impacts of this storm again. And that does still mean potentially winds up to 120, maybe 125 miles per hour with higher gusts. Still the potential for some of that really high storm surge, maybe 9-10 feet. So this is really going to bring in devastation to parts of Cuba too. And then as we get closer to Thursday, this could impact islands near the Turks and Caicos before it completely makes its way towards the northeast of the Caribbean and makes its way farther out into the Atlantic. And even then, that could still be a category 2 storm. So although we're going to see very slight weakening in the next couple of days, there are still a lot of spots that are going to feel impacts from this. Now, when it comes to the United States, still could see some of that rough surf like we've had with a handful of hurricanes in the last couple of months. Although they have not made direct landfall, they've still brought in some of that storm surge, some of the stronger wind, the dangerous rip currents. But there's actually a cold front rolling through Florida right now, and I do think that's going to help keep this hurricane out towards the Atlantic, or out in the Atlantic, I should say. But again, this is a really strong storm, one of the strongest ever recorded in the Atlantic. In fact, going by pressure alone, which at landfall, the pressure was 892 millibars, you can tell it's actually tied for third place for strongest hurricane, again, just by pressure, in the Atlantic basin. And then when it comes to wind, which it was, again, max 185 at landfall, you can see a lot of other hurricanes had that same wind speed at landfall here, but this is all tied for second place, meaning we were only 5 miles per hour behind the strongest Atlantic hurricane, that's Allen, when it comes to wind. So just really incredible stats, and this is the strongest in 90 years. It's just been incredible to not only see the development and how slowly it moved and how it strengthened because it was just sitting in this really warm Caribbean water, to now actually seeing it impacting Jamaica. And we're not even done. Cuba again tonight, maybe the Turks and Caicos Islands and surrounding areas in the next couple of days, Haley. So this is, again, I think going to take some time for us to actually see what happens in Jamaica, because it's all unfolding right now. I've been watching some live streams. Those are even starting to go out, which is understandable when you have gusts over 200 miles per hour.
Yeah, I would say all the kind of statistics that you're throwing out right now are just heartbreaking, really, to hear, knowing that there are so many people who are going to be impacted by this. You never want to hear a Category 5 making landfall, and even when it weakens for Cuba, it's still, you said, potentially Category 4 and Category 3. So, of course, we'll continue to track this here. Stephanie, while I have you, I was going to take a live look outside here in Milwaukee. Can you just let us know what we're expecting this Tuesday?
Yeah. Thankfully, we're going to have quiet weather for the remainder of today. Our biggest part of our forecast, both today and tomorrow, is going to be the continued wind and how strong it's been. We've got gusts over 20, 25 miles per hour, so that will continue the rest of today on into tomorrow. But temperatures will be very pleasant in these low, maybe mid-50s. Now, Halloween on Friday, I think late at night, so after trick-or-treating and even after our Halloween parties, we could have a few sprinkles rolling in. Otherwise, early next week, our next chance for some rain. So a very quiet forecast still for us here in Milwaukee and southeast Wisconsin.
I was going to say, hearing about the potential for a few raindrops or maybe these colder temperatures, you kind of put everything in perspective. You know, we're just going to be grateful that it's calm here, and we'll keep our eyes on Jamaica and the tropics. All right, thanks so much, Steph.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, that is the latest on Hurricane Melissa, which we've been hearing from some people here in the U.S., Milwaukee, Florida, Texas, who took vacations to Jamaica, thinking it was just going to be a tropical depression, and now they are obviously bunkered down with a Category 5 storm. We know a lot of local people are even dealing with family members who are in Jamaica. I believe our very own Durante Matthews is working on telling some of their stories. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled to Fox Local later today, where his story will air. Hey, we're going to take a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. And when we come back, we'll monitor some feeds. We'll bring you some more news live as it happens. Stay with us.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's Haley. I'll be with you until 2:30 this Tuesday afternoon. I have to keep reminding myself that it's Tuesday because I was off yesterday, so it feels like Monday, but what a reward. It's already Tuesday. Of course, our very own Kim is taking over here at 2:30, and she'll get you until the end of Wisconsin Live Desk at 3:30. Over the break, we were monitoring the feeds. We do want to take you actually out to D.C., where we have a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee who is meeting right now to examine actually politically violent attacks, focusing on a threat to our constitutional order. Of course, this has become, unfortunately, a big headline this year with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We also saw the murder of a Minnesota lawmaker. So we've seen political violent attacks on both sides of the aisle, and it's something I think a bipartisan, you could say they want to see an end to. So we're going to go ahead and listen in here to this hearing for just a little bit, coming out again of DC.
Moment or cause. Political violence, regardless of the alleged justification, regardless of the political beliefs of those embracing it or opposing it, will never and must never be tolerated by this body or by the United States of America. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Lee. Would the witnesses please rise? I will now administer the oath. Would you raise your right hand, please, and answer this question? Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to introduce our first witness. It's Mr. Wolf. Thank you for being here, Mr. Wolf. And understand that you have a very distinguished career. You serve as America First Policy Institute's Executive Vice President, Chief Strategy Officer, and Chair of AFPI's Homeland Security Immigration. And I also understand prior to that, you were Acting Secretary of Homeland, Acting Secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And during your time at DHS, you successfully navigated an incredible number of global and domestic challenges to the nation's security.
We've been listening in here to this Senate subcommittee hearing, but I really quickly actually want to take us to this Senate floor where you can see, not the floor, but it's outside the Senate, where Tammy Baldwin, of course, one of our Wisconsin senators, is currently talking. So I want to listen in on this.
Supposed to get this type of money. Rent and food are a must. Do they sell the car? Do they take it out of their retirement account? What we know is that 4 million Americans will look at the price hike and say, it's too much, and I will go without health care. This is 100% avoidable, but my Republican colleagues are simply refusing to act. They've blocked us from giving families relief 10 separate times, but it is not too late to act. Come to the table and address the healthcare crisis and reopen the government. And President Trump, come back to the United States and address the crisis American families are staring down right now. And I'll end on this. I was recently asked about the political ramifications of this fight. Something along the lines of, will this help Democrats in 2026 on the ballot? I just want to say, to me, this is not about politics. This is personal for me. It is personal for the millions of Wisconsinites I represent here in the Senate and the millions of Americans who are staring down this healthcare cliff.
Thank you, Tammy. We'll take some questions. Back there, back there.
Today we saw in Hyattsville, Maryland, several federal workers lining up to get free meals. We've also seen the AFGE statement, as you're well aware. What kind of pressure, if any, do you see those type of things having on your company?
Look, I think it's very clear. We Democrats want to do and have always said we can do both. We can provide all the help, provide pay and furlough and back pay for federal workers, and fix the health care crisis. And all they have to do is sit down and negotiate with us, and both can happen. Yes, yes.
Did AFGE President Everett Kelly speak to you before he put out a statement Monday, and how do you respond to his statement that both parties have made their points, now it's time to reopen the government with a clean, continuing resolution?
Very simple, same thing. I told him we can do both, and we need to do both. Both have federal workers get paid in every way, and negotiate a way to resolve the Americans' pain in the health care crisis. Yes, yes, yes.
Putting blame aside here, what is your strategy to end the shutdown?
Look, on November 1st, people in more than 30 states are going to be aghast when they see their bills, and they're going to cry out. And I believe there will be increased pressure on Republicans to negotiate with us.
Are you going to vote for Mamdani?
All right, we were listening in there, hearing both from Tammy Baldwin, of course, a senator from right here in Wisconsin, as well as the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, talking about the government shutdown, which is still here in day 28, because, of course, it started October 1st. They were talking a lot about how hard it's going to be for certain people to pay their bills, especially all these government employees who are not receiving paychecks right now. I know I actually just recently was flying, and I had to wait a very long time for my flight to be able to take off because of air traffic controllers who are calling out from their shifts because they're not receiving a paycheck. They need to maybe potentially go get another job in the meantime. Again, if you are deemed an essential employee and you are working a shift, you will eventually be paid once the government is funded again, but you have no idea how long that's going to go. And of course, another big concern is people who use, different government resources. as you were hearing Abril talk about, SNAP, those are a big concern for people who don't even know how to put food on the table right now. So, of course, that was Chuck Schumer and Tammy Baldwin. I'll keep my eyes on the feed and see if any Republican lawmakers step up to a podium to give their side. And, of course, we'll bring that to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But here on day 28 seems pretty deadlocked still. I know Democrats and Republicans both just standing firm in what they want. Of course, Democrats want to see things like Obamacare continue to be funded so that health care can be provided, whereas Republicans want a clean bill. They say they don't want any extra things included. They just want it to be for funding the government. So we'll keep our eye on all things government shutdown. And again, if we hear from Republicans, we'll absolutely bring you that other side here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But for now, we're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be back with, I think, question of the day and other fun things. So stick with us.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Wow, honestly you guys, the hour is flying by. It's already 2:06, so we only have about 25 minutes left together, you and I. But don't worry, you and I, that you and me? Hold on. I don't know the right grammar yet, you guys. I'm really tired from a trip, but I will figure that out later. And of course, Kim Murphy's taking over from 2:30 to 3:30. I was just saying that I'm a little tired. That's because I was in Florida the last few days. I actually ran a half marathon. This is a picture of me Sunday morning after finishing the half marathon, which I was excited about. I didn't train as much as I normally do for races. I, of course, picked up my life and moved to Wisconsin about, well, I guess almost 3 months ago. But all of that just kind of put me off my training program. But we got it done. We finished 13.1 miles, and this photo just makes me laugh because I don't even like bananas, but I promise you the best banana of your life is always the one you're eating after you cross the finish line. Your body is just so ready for like nutrients, and you probably had a lot of gels and like gummies along the course, and there's something about just a really good banana. The other thing I love is that you can see the cool down, like wet rag that they give you when you finish a race. Well, of course, it depends on the weather. Here, this was 90% humidity, so it was a little hotter. So we got those nice little cool down rags, which is always nice. All right, Delaney, what's the next photo we got? I think the rest of these are all me on the course. Yes, they have little photo pass people throughout the course, and I always try and pose for them. That's just a fun little hand up. Let's see what else we have from Delaney. She's going to go through all of them. Oh, this is a fun one, you guys. So the draw of running a Run Disney race is that you get to go through the parks. Now, you don't get to go through all of them, especially because, I mean, a half marathon's only 13 point only. That's still a lot. 13.1 miles is still a lot, but it's not enough to cover necessarily the ground of all 4 parks. So this particular race, we went through Hollywood Studios and we went through Epcot, and then we had like 6 or 7 miles that were straight highway, which was a little brutal. But this was from when we, of course, ran through Hollywood Studios, and that is Tower of Terror behind me, which for the longest time was my favorite Disney ride. It's recently been replaced by Cosmic Rewind, which is in Epcot. But I love this little photo line with the bellhops that are all spooky. They've got their spider webs and their makeup was done perfectly. It's kind of fun. So they have different character stops throughout the course, which if you run fast enough, you can stop for because you don't want to get swept. But I think I only had to wait like 4 minutes for this one, which I think this was like mile 5.5, so I was ready for like a tiny break, so that worked out pretty well. All right, I think we have one more. Delaney's nodding her head, yes. Yeah, we'll give this one 2 thumbs up. This would be, I think that's Epcot. Yeah, it looks like Epcot behind me. So that's another one just on the course, which is always really nice and fun. Delaney, you ran cross country, so remind me, what was the farthest distance you ever did?
Just a 5K.
Just I hate when people say just.
I feel like
even though I just did that.
It's not that long compared to a half.
Yeah, but I always say, because I think that when people, I'm saying this after I literally just did it, just don't minimize your accomplishments. Like I remember when I was training for my first 10K, I thought like, oh, people are probably thinking I'm being so dramatic, but like, no, at that time, 6.2 was like a crazy idea for me. I was training so hard for it, and I did it, and I was proud of myself. Now I could run 6.2 fairly easily that I stepped it up to 13.1, but 3.1 is still impressive.
That's true.
I think the statistics are like less than 2% of the population will even attempt a half marathon, so I'm sure it's maybe like 10% for a 5K. Who knows? So if you run, you should be proud.
Very true.
Right. Okay, so since I have you up here, should we do question of the day?
Let's do it.
All right, it is National Chocolate Day, so I figured we should ask, what is your favorite kind of chocolate?
Ooh, I don't really know. I like Kit Kats. I don't know. I also just like Hershey's.
Yeah.
Like you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong.
Hershey's Kiss or even like a little bit of a Hershey's bar.
I agree.
What
I
about
do agree. I'll go for really anything milk chocolate. That's by far my favorite type of chocolate. But I would say Cadbury mini eggs.
Those are always good.
But I want to emphasize mini. I don't like the big ones. I don't like the cream-filled ones. I want the hard shell. Yeah, those are so
The hard shell ones are so good.
Yeah, but you all are right about like the Hershey's milk chocolate bars, because I used to only buy those for like s'mores making, but then I'd be like, oh wait, I have a chocolate bar. And you eat some and you're like, this is exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love chocolate.
Very true.
Hard to go wrong. All right, you've prepared 2 true or false questions for us, so I'm going to pull that up here. True or false, it takes 400 cacao beans to make, first of all, do you know what that word's making me think of, Delaney?
The summer I turned pretty.
She nailed it. To make 1 pound of chocolate. Goodness, that's a lot of cacao beans, but beans are small, and 1 pound of chocolate would be kind of a lot. I almost wonder if it's more than that. I'm going to say true.
This one is true. Yeah, 400 cacao beans.
It makes you really appreciate how much goes into chocolate, doesn't it?
Right?
But if you guys haven't seen The Summer I Turned Pretty, Jeremiah needs a very specific wedding cake that's going to cost so much money, and he's like rude to his fiance who is trying to save it and have a solution. He's like, no, I need this really expensive wedding cake. Spoiler alert, they don't even get married. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Just kidding.
I feel like most people have seen it.
Or read the book. The books have been out since like 2008.
The books have been out for a while.
But Delaney and I are big The Summer I Turned Pretty fans over here. Okay, time for true or false question number 2. Swarovski makes studded chocolates. I mean, that's got to be true. Are they edible? Well, first of all, is it true?
It is true. I think they're edible. But how much do you think they
Yeah.
cost?
Well, that's hard because is it just chocolate or are there Swarovski crystals in it, which would make it not edible and would also up the price? Okay. $250. Oh, her face is saying that I'm way under.
It's 10,000.
Delaney, wait, hold on. They're not edible then. They have to have real Swarovski crystals in them. Hold
I'll
on.
look up if they're edible.
They are?
I'll look it up.
Oh, I was like, you're spending $10,000 on some chocolate earrings. That's what I call, like, you have too much money. Like, if that's what you're using these for. I'm Googling this. Delaney, these are definitely not edible. I'm looking at photos of them, you guys. Okay, I'm glad that we're at least not spending $10,000 on something that we're going to pull off our ear and eat. I think there's an actual jewel.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay, okay. But that's crazy. $10,000 and I said $250. Just slightly off.
A little bit off. But you got the true and false right.
You're right.
That's
I
all
went
that
2 for
matters.
2. Even with 2 days off, I came back. I think I did good last week, too, if I remember correctly.
I think so. I can't really remember last week.
Like,
but I think you did well.
That's the most true statement anyone's ever said. I can never remember. I can't even remember an hour ago. I need sleep.
Right.
Okay, I think, should talk fantasy football, too.
Yeah, how'd your team do?
Okay, so my team, Karma is the guy on the Chiefs, was facing Sin City Bandits this week. Again, it's so funny. I don't even know half the girls in this league. These are strangers to me. So, originally, Sin City Bandits was given the percentage chance of winning. But I did it. I won. I ended up winning 120.3 to 99.62 because I had, if you couldn't tell based off the name of my team, my tight end is Travis Kelce, and he played last night. I needed him to get 2 points for me to win, and he got 21.9.
That's good.
We love it. So I moved to 5-3 on the season, and I'm in third place. But the girl who's in first, I'm playing next week. So there's a chance to maybe end tied for first. If first and second both lose, we will all tie for first after this week.
Oh, that would be exciting.
That will be exciting, which speaking of this upcoming week, we're taking a live look here at Lambeau. We're, of course, in Green Bay, home of your Green Bay Packers, where they will be at home come Sunday. They have a noon game against the Carolina Panthers. Here's a fun fact, Delaney. Do you think the Carolina Panthers play in North Carolina or South Carolina?
They're North Carolina, right?
Nailed it. Yes, they play in Charlotte.
Interesting.
I got you. Yeah, it's funny. I've learned because I just moved here from South Carolina. I lived there for 3 years. People don't know how to tell the Carolinas apart. So it's just funny to me because they'll be like, oh, yeah, you live in Carolina. Like, sure. I was going to see, obviously, your Green Bay Packers just beat the former hero of the squad, Aaron Rodgers. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh this past Sunday, and they claimed that victory 35-25. I think it's the first time they've seen Aaron since he was a Green Bay Packer, so I'm sure that was a good feeling, but also strange to see him wearing, the Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. But I think that obviously Aaron Rodgers is just absolutely adored and beloved here in Wisconsin. But it was Jordan Love, the quarterback, who took away that victory, which got to be a good feeling for Jordan Love too. He obviously kind of replaced Aaron Rodgers and wanted to remind them why they did that. So. Exciting, though. The Packers doing pretty well. They are first in the NFC North, in case you were wondering. I'm curious where Oh, great. Bears are in third place in the NFC North out of 4 teams. So pretty bad, Delaney. Obviously, I'm from Chicago, so that would be my team. But I'm really not that big of a football fan. I would say I could be convinced to be a Packers fan, but I gave you guys my NBA loyalty. I'm a Bucks fan now, if you remember.
We're excited that you're a Bucks fan. Maybe eventually you'll make your way to being a Packers fan, but I think Bucks is a good start.
Yeah. I feel like, you know what? Oh, you know what? Somebody asked me recently what my hockey loyalties are. And I said, I'm really not that big of a hockey fan. So by default, I'd probably say the Chicago Blackhawks. But I was told that I need to become a Nashville Predators fan.
I have heard that.
Because the Milwaukee Admirals are, I don't want to make it obvious that I'm not a hockey fan. I think it's AAA is the way you would say, it's AAA for baseball. But they're like one step down from the Nashville Predators. So some of those Milwaukee Admirals become probably Predators at some point.
Yeah.
So I could be convinced to be, I mean, I'm for sure a Milwaukee Admirals fan, obviously, but I could also potentially be convinced to be a Nashville Predators fan, sure.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that's the next step. Maybe in like a very long time I could be a Packers fan. And again, unfortunately, I will never be a Brewers fan because my dog's name is Zobrist, so I'm definitely a Cubs fan through and through, you know?
I get that.
Yeah. All right, cool.
2 Wisconsin sports teams, not a bad start.
Not a bad start. Not a bad start. Speaking of the Milwaukee Admirals, Delaney, they have a lot of really fun theme nights this week, so I'm going to tease ahead to tomorrow. You're going to want to tune in at 1:30. We're going to get to talk to the president of the team about those nights, which if you don't have Halloween plans, if you wear your costume to the Admirals game, you get free tickets for a future game.
Ooh, good to know.
And if you're like, oh, I can't do that because my kids want to trick or treat, you can trick or treat at the game on the ice.
Wait, that's so fun.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll get all the details again.
I'm excited to hear about the theme nights.
I know, and there's another theme night on Saturday. So much to look forward to, Delaney.
There definitely is.
That's right. All right. I think we should take... I can't speak today, Delaney. I think we should take another break, and then we'll come back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Can you do my favorite thing?
We'll be back after this short break.
Nailed it.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Just got a few minutes left with you before Kim Murphy takes over at, I almost just said 3:30. It is 2:30 that she's taken over. You guys, the World Series game last night was really something to see. It lasted 18 innings. The Dodgers did pull away with the victory off of a homer by Freddie Freeman. So now we're on Game 4. It is Dodgers 2, Toronto Blue Jays 1, and it's tonight, Game 4. So you can catch it, right, Delaney? Tonight? I just started doubting.
Yeah, tonight.
Okay, good. I'm like, I don't want to say this and be wrong. It's going to be still in LA. Game 5 will also be in LA. Of course, if the Blue Jays win either of those, it would force a Game 6. And if they win both, it would force a Game 7. Both of those would be in Toronto. Of course, you can only watch these games here on Fox 6. We're incredibly excited to be carrying the World Series. And we have a look at the pitchers for tonight. Shane Bieber will be starting for the Toronto Blue Jays. I know what you're thinking. Is he related to Justin Bieber? He's not, but they're both Canadians. Fun fact, Delaney. And he'll be taking on Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers, which, oof, that is a very good pitcher. Obviously, we saw him, I don't want to say destroy the Brewers, but the last time he was on the mound against the Brewers, obviously, I think he had 10 strikeouts and he had 3 home runs, which is crazy. Ohtani is just built different. Normally, you've got a really good pitcher, but Ohtani is also the DH for his team, so he hits as well. We used to in the National League not have a designated hitter, and I always loved when you could find a pitcher, a pitcher who rakes is what they would say, when you can get a pitcher who also is just so good at the plate. But it's a rare skill set, and it's one that Ohtani absolutely does have. Delaney, any predictions from you? Who do you think is going to take the World Series? We're obviously 2-1. Dodgers currently have the lead.
I really don't know. I feel like the Dodgers could win again tonight, but it's hard to say. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like it's an exciting World Series. I mean, 18 innings is something.
Right? That's crazy.
I was just on a story shoot this morning with a photographer, Matt, and I told him, I mean, at least you're getting your money's worth. Like, if you were at that game last night, you got 2 for the price of 1, because that is 2 baseball games during 1 baseball game.
I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I once saw the Cubs take on the Yankees at Wrigley, and that one went into 18 innings. I left, though, at, like, inning 14, because I had my truly baby brother. If you don't know, I have a brother who's 18 years younger than me, and at the time, he was, like, 3. So we had to go. We could not stay. And it was fine, because the Yankees ended up winning. But 18 innings is just crazy.
That is.
Yeah, something to see. What do I think is going to happen? I think I'm rooting for the Toronto Blue Jays, just because the Dodgers have won the World Series so much, and like I just think it's kind of boring. But I would love a Game 7. Like, I just think there's something really exciting about a World Series where like both teams are evenly matched. They went back and forth. We're clearly seeing that with an 18-inning game. So I'm rooting for just a Game 7, and I would like to see the Toronto Blue Jays pull away with the victory.
That would be exciting.
Yeah, I think it would. All right, well, we'll, of course, check in tomorrow. We'll see how the Dodgers do tonight. I'm hoping it's 2-2, but Ohtani is just a tough one, Delaney.
He is. It would be exciting if the Blue Jays tied it, though.
It's also just not unfortunate, but, like, if you're not a Dodgers fan, you probably want to hate Ohtani because he's so good, but, of course, he's the nicest person ever, too.
Right?
It's okay. It's okay. All right, Delaney, thanks for joining us to talk baseball. She probably loves that I pulled her up there. I actually want to get us back out to D.C. We had started listening in to a feed a little bit ago. It's a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on political violence. Obviously, we've seen an uptick, unfortunately, of those politically violent attacks here in the U.S. We had gone to it, but then we noticed that Senator Tammy Baldwin was speaking, so we went over to that instead. So I want to go ahead and pull that back up, and I think we're going to listen in here for a few minutes. But after that, it will be Kim Murphy. So I'll be signing off. We're going to listen into this, and she'll have you covered coming up here at 2:30. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Very similarly, the International Antifa Defense Fund has distributed over $250,000 to 800 Antifa members across 26 countries, including not just for legal support, but up to 20% has gone to security improvements and emergency relocation costs for Antifa members. It would be a reasonable avenue of investigation to determine if funds have gone to help fugitive Antifa members avoid arrest. I look forward to working with the committee on ways U.S. policy and legislation might address the threat posed by Antifa and related left-wing extremist groups.
Thank you. The chair will recognize Ranking Member of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Durbin, for his opening remarks.
I thank Senator Schmidt for that courtesy. At the outset, I want to recognize law enforcement who are here today, including those who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, and the family members of those who are no longer with us. Ken Sicknick, brother of fallen officer Brian Sicknick, is here. He reminds us, and I quote, "The simple act of not letting the events of that day be whitewashed, revised, or forgotten is more important than anyone can ever know." That statement by Mr. Sicknick rings true, painfully true today. This hearing examines a critical issue, political violence in America. I've said before over and over from this podium and will repeat, violence is not acceptable whatever the source or origin. I do not believe that one party owns the right to say it's the other party's fault. It is the fault of both parties in differing degrees, and it's our fault if we try to whitewash that reality. To seriously address this problem, we must be honest. We must start with the facts, not with partisan conclusions. To claim, as the chairman of the subcommittee has, and I quote, "Political violence comes predominantly from one side of the aisle, and don't give me this both sides BS," is not supported by the facts. In fact, those facts tell a different story. For more than a decade, data from the FBI, DHS, and nonpartisan experts show that far-right extremists have been responsible for most domestic terrorism, including most deaths by far. On this chart, which you can see behind me, from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, also known as CSIS, terrorist attacks from the right are in red and attacks from the left are in blue. CSIS found that since 2016, 112 people have been killed as a result of right-wing attacks, while 3 have died as a result of left-wing attacks. These are not partisan talking points. They are the facts established by federal law enforcement and national security experts across numerous administrations, both Democratic and Republican. Indeed, one of today's majority witnesses, Mr. Chad Wolf, in his confirmation hearing before Congress, as acting DHS Secretary during President Trump's first term, testified, and I quote, "White supremacist extremists, from a lethality standpoint over the last 2 years, are certainly the most persistent and lethal threat when we talk about domestic violent extremists. Far-right extremists were responsible for the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. I lived through it. And they've been responsible for a string of hate-fueled massacres targeting ethnic and religious minority communities, including the 2012 Gurdwara shooting in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, targeting Sikh Americans, killing 7. The 2015 Mother Emanuel AME Church shooting in Charleston, targeting Black Americans, killing 9. The 2018 Tree of Life Synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh, targeting Jewish Americans, killing 11. The 2019 Walmart shooting in El Paso, targeting Latino Americans, killing 22. And the 2022 Tops Supermarket shooting in Buffalo, targeting Black Americans, killing 10. Political violence has continued to rock the nation in recent months, from the assassination of Mr. Kirk to the assassinations of Minnesota House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hartman and her husband, and the attempted assassination of Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. Just last week, a man was arrested after allegedly offering $45,000 for the killing of Attorney General Pam Bondi, and a January 6 rioter who was pardoned by President Trump, full and unconditional pardon, was arrested for allegedly threatening to kill the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's no room for political violence in America, ever, ever, not from the right or from the left. I'm deeply concerned by the Trump administration's response to the political violence crisis. On the one hand, the administration is threatening a crackdown on constitutionally protected speech based on false claims that, in the words of Stephen Miller, there is, quote, a vast domestic terror movement on the left. At the same time, the administration is gutting.
Good afternoon. This is Kim Murphy on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Welcome to the third hour for this Tuesday. You've been listening to a Senate subcommittee hearing on political violence, and within the last 5 minutes referencing some of those attacks. And Oak Creek, the Sikh temple shooting, one of those political violence incidents, unfortunately, that we share with so many other cities in the country. In this subcommittee, you're hearing Chair Dick Durbin saying that this is not a partisan issue. no matter how some try to make it a partisan issue, that both Democrats and Republicans, the rhetoric on both sides is responsible for the political violence and the uptick that we've seen in recent years. You are watching the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks for joining us. Of course, the big story this afternoon continues to be Hurricane Melissa. We're going to take a shot right now. I know you see it's kind of rendering there, but Melissa has now made landfall. This monster storm, it's strengthened overnight, hitting Jamaica, bringing with it sustained winds of 185 miles per hour. This is now the strongest hurricane, the Atlantic hurricane, to make landfall since Hurricane Dorian, and that hit the Bahamas in 2019. So Melissa, again, has made landfall, a Category 5 right now in Jamaica, and this is what we are seeing this afternoon. Just a lot more of this storm to go. So we appreciate you sticking with us right here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. And as more images come into the Live Desk that we are able to share with you, we will. We're going to take a quick break to reset. Thanks for joining us. It's Tuesday.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. You are taking a live look right now. Stephanie Barrichello doing us the solid of showing us the storm, Melissa, as she is passing over Jamaica right now, a Category 5. This is the strongest hurricane in the Atlantic in quite some time. And before Melissa even made landfall, predictions were that this was going to be a catastrophic storm, and infrastructure was definitely going to be affected by this. Again, we're taking a live look at Melissa at this hour. Still, you can see just such a powerful storm right there. It is among the most powerful hurricanes in the Atlantic on record. The storm strengthened Tuesday before hitting Jamaica, bringing with it maximum winds of 185 miles per hour. It is unimaginable. Arbria Jones spoke with a Milwaukee couple honeymooning in Jamaica. They're stuck in their hotel room with the most meager of essentials that the hotel was able to provide, basically like a honey bun, a little bit of water, and they're just told to hunker down in their bathroom of their hotel room because there's just no place else to go as Melissa continues to cross Jamaica, crossing the southwestern part of Jamaica. Already we've got reports of roofs being torn off buildings, boulders tumbling down into roads. Again, this was a Category 5. Jamaica's Disaster Risk Management Council urging people to seek shelter and to stay inside. Bria also caught up with a Milwaukee woman who lives in Milwaukee now. Her dad is in Jamaica, and the best that she could do is to move him to a hotel in hopes that he is safer there than he would be in his own residence. But there is no infrastructure in the region that can withstand a Category 5. That is according to the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, saying that the question now is the speed of the recovery, and that's going to be the challenge already. The only storm in the Atlantic to ever be stronger than Melissa was Hurricane Allen, and that was back in 1980. So it's just incredible to think about this. We're talking about landslides, fallen trees, power outages already. The Marine Corps is trying to hunker down near Kingston, saying that most families are sheltering in place despite the government ordering evacuations in flood-prone communities. He was sheltering with his grandmother in Portmore, where everything went dark, he said early this morning after a loud explosion. You can imagine that's the transformers. High in the mountains, they saw wind gusts up to 200 miles per hour. So this is the situation that we are seeing. So that is the radar right now. We're going to switch you now over to what we are seeing, or a little bit of our cameras. This is all that we can see right now. So we continue to wait for more information on what is happening on the ground in Jamaica. But again, there just weren't a lot of options for people to evacuate to higher ground. So a lot of people did shelter in place, and so that is a concern as winds 185 miles per hour, but in the mountains clocked as high as 200 miles per hour. U.S. citizens were told to depart as soon as possible if they could. This was back, earlier before the storm actually made landfall, but then the airport closed, so there really was not an option to do that. Hurricane Melissa made landfall 12:04 our time, which is also the same time in Jamaica. So again, this is what we're looking at. This is the strongest direct hit to the island in 174 years. So we will continue to follow the story and bring you updates as we get those updates. So we are now going to come back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, and let's check in on some of the other things that are happening right now. We're going to switch on over to Router 4 and listening to what is going on here. Delaney, remind me, is this the subcommittee still? This is the Senate floor. The government's still shut down. We're going to tell you more about the impacts in the looming November 1st deadline, but let's listen into what little business is happening right now in the nation's capital.
It's a year, but the roots of daylight saving time trace back much further. Daylight saving time was introduced during World War I and then reused again during World War II as a temporary way to help conserve fuel and energy. Following the ends of both wars, the decision was to spring forward and fall back, was returned to individual states. It was until 1966 when the system of changing our clocks twice a year that we use now was made permanent. Changing our clocks twice a year might have made sense in the 60s, but it doesn't make sense anymore. The twice a year time change doesn't make sense today. We know the devastating impact of the disruption from so-called standard time has on Americans' health. Studies have suggested that disruption of sleep patterns due to time changes increases the risk of cardiovascular disease and physical injury. Northwestern Medical found that the fall back and the spring forward are connected to a 6% spike in fatal car accidents and 24% higher risk of heart attacks. Think about that. Additionally, the long-term health effects linked to changing our clocks.
So you're listening to what's happening right now on the Senate floor. So the government is still shut down. 42 million Americans are set to lose their food assistance if some kind of compromise or some kind of stopgap measure is not introduced before November 1st. But as you're listening, daylight saving time seems to be the hot button issue right now that they are talking about. So let's listen in. Day 28 of the government shutdown.
And it's bad for overall health. And for that reason, I push back and try to get this on the floor sooner or later, and I yield back to my colleague, Rick Scott.
Mr. President, Senator from Florida. I want to thank Senators Whitehouse and Tuberville for their support. Our Sunshine Protection Act is a bipartisan, bicameral bill that will allow states to end the twice-yearly time change and make daylight savings time the national year-round standard. In 2018, when I was governor of Florida, I signed legislation that will allow the state of Florida to stop the practice of changing the clocks. I've been working to get this passed since I've been in the Senate so the people of Florida, not the federal government, can make this choice for the families of Florida. Nearly 24 other states have joined Florida in choosing to lock the clock, pending the federal approval that will come by passing the Sunshine Protection Act, while still allowing other states to opt out if they wish. This bill is about states' rights. It allows the people of each state to choose what best fits their needs and the needs of their families. In Florida, that's permanent daylight savings time. I hear from Floridians on this constantly. I'm sure many of you have heard from your constituents as well. The American people are sick and tired of changing their clocks twice a year. It's confusing, unnecessary, and completely outdated. It's an understatement to say our nation has changed since the United States began changing the clocks over a century ago. For example, American households have electricity now. We also have self-driving cars, computers, cell phones. Now changing the clocks twice a year proves more of an annoyance to families than a benefit to them. The American people love having an extra hour of sunlight, especially in my state of Florida, where that means more time to enjoy the outdoors and activities with family. Studies also show the potential for reduced cardiac issues, strokes, seasonal depression, reduced robberies, and benefits to the agricultural and general economies with an extra hour of sunlight. And with President Trump committed to finally lock the clock, we can finally get this done for the American people. This bill is completely about individual states having the right to make their own decisions. I ask all of my colleagues to support the passage of the Sunshine Protection Act to make a common sense change that will simplify and benefit the lives of Americans and allow the people of each state to choose what is best for themselves and their families. And I yield to my colleague from Arkansas.
Mr. President. The Senator from Arkansas.
Not your imagination, you did just see a courtesy shot of Milwaukee as we were listening to some of the business that is happening on the Senate floor, the debate that happens every single time we change the clocks, whether or not daylight saving is a good idea. There was a reason for it long ago. Farmers, it was an agriculture thing that was agreeable to farming. Society has changed, people's schedules have changed, and so there's always been this pushback for, gosh, at least the last 10 years. It's the popular, cause. Let's fight daylight saving time, and so that's what you're hearing on the Senate floor. But, I did show you a scene of Milwaukee, and what is happening in Washington or what is not happening in Washington is of great importance to Milwaukee. So let's take you there. The government is still shut down. We are now the fourth week of this government shutdown, and a looming deadline is that unless there is something that is done, SNAP benefits are going to disappear for 42 million Americans. No food aid will go out November 1st. That is according to the Trump administration. Now, what has happened today since then is that several states, 20 or so states are suing, saying that initially the USDA said that there is a contingency fund and that SNAP benefits would continue, that the program would lean on the contingency fund, but then reversed course and said that fund is only to supplement the already existing appropriation. If there is a shortfall, it is not to replace an appropriation. Democrats, the states that are suing are led by Democrats, are saying it's to make sure that the benefits are whole. So they are suing to force the USDA to tap into the contingency funds to make sure that the program doesn't stop, doesn't pause, starting on November 1st. So many food banks right now, they're scrambling. They don't really know what to do or what's going to happen. there seems to be no end in sight to this government shutdown. Democrats say they want to sit down with President Trump. They want to talk about what is happening. They want to get the government back open. The sticking point, health care subsidies that are going to expire. Democrats fear that if they acquiesce to a short-term budget resolution, that they're never going to get the chance to restore the healthcare subsidies. And so that is their fear. And they say that if those subsidies do not continue, millions of Americans are not going to be able to afford health care. So that is the sticking point here. And we also are hearing that healthcare insurance premiums are expected to soar for all of us if these subsidies from the Affordable Care Act are not extended. So healthcare insurance rates to skyrocket for 2026 without enhanced subsidies. This is Wisconsin's governor announcing that just yesterday. The cost of healthcare coverage purchased on healthcare.gov in Wisconsin will rise for some people anywhere from 45 to 800% for next year. The increased rates will be made worse with the end of the enhanced federal subsidies provided in the form of tax credits that lowered insurance costs from the marketplace since 2021. Governor Evers and Senator Tammy Baldwin, a Democrat, said during a virtual press conference on Monday. And so these enhanced subsidies are expected, they will expire at the end of December. So that is what is at the crux of the government shutdown. And so we are talking about thousands. 88% of Wisconsinites who enrolled in coverage on healthcare.gov, they qualified for tax credits in 2025. They saved on average about $664 a month. Now think about that. Some people only make $664 a month. So again, this is the argument of why this needs to happen. President Trump is steadfast, saying that no dice unless we take the health care issue out of the budget resolution and debate on that separately. So that's where it stands right now, day 28 of the government shutdown. So we will continue to keep an eye on that. So what else is going on in the world? Okay, were you up last night to watch the World Series? Ooh, that game was crazy. 18 innings. Shohei Ohtani went off again, was having a stellar night. Before we look back, let's look ahead of what's coming up. Tonight, Game 4 at Dodger Stadium. It's at 7 p.m., only on Fox 6. Shane Bieber is pitching for Toronto versus Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers. I mean, this guy is just like, I asked Ben, my coworker, is he a robot? It's insane. This guy not only is like crazy on the mound pitching, he's also a phenomenal batter. And he just had a wonderful night last night. It was a long night for our coworkers. They didn't go on air until 2 o'clock, but we wanted to make sure that we brought you the very latest in the game. So tonight, they're at it again. Game 4 of the World Series. The Dodgers right now have the lead in the series. First pitch is at 7 p.m. Also tonight, the Bucks are playing at home, and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Night. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. All fans will receive a rally towel, and there's a special in-game moment to honor those impacted by breast cancer. So 2 big sporting events that are happening this evening. And we'll have all of that coming up for you, of course, on Fox 6 News. On the local at 9 o'clock this evening, that's where you can find Ben Handelman and myself. Whenever we're programming on air on Fox 6, check us out on Fox Local on your mobile app. Take us if you're going to the game, the Bucks game. You can also watch the Fox 6 News at 9. Or download it for your television set, your smart television, and you can catch the Fox 6 News at 9 while the World Series is on to just check out what's happening, what's happened since 4 o'clock, and then switch back to the World Series. So it's the best of both worlds. You're watching Fox 6 local. Almost caught myself. We'll be back right after this quick break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
World Series Game 4 is tonight. First pitch is at 7 p.m. Dodger Stadium, only on Fox 6. And hats off to my co-workers. This was Game 3 last night. Help us caption this. Can you believe we are in the 18th inning in the World Series? See you on TV with your late local news at some point. Join us. This is posted by Mary Stoker Smith last night. Crazy. Like at the top of the ninth last night, the score was tied 5-5. So I thought maybe a couple more innings. Hats off. Tom Walks, Mary Stoker Smith, Ted Perry, our producer Maddie, just our desk person Leslie. Who else is over there? That is Lily is there, and Mark, our director, sitting next to Tom Walks. All of them just real troopers, staying up into the wee hours until after this game was in the books. We are talking 18 innings. Is that bananas or what? So hopefully, I'm hoping that tonight, first pitch again at 7 o'clock, but I'm hoping that it's a much quicker night for my colleagues because, whoa, we love October baseball, but those long nights, that's a little bit bananas. So we want to keep you abreast of what is happening. This is a live look at this hour of Hurricane Melissa. And there is just a lot of concern about what the aftermath is going to look like after Melissa made landfall around noon o'clock our time, which is the same time as we are on the same time as Jamaica right now until we switch our clocks. Melissa hit Jamaica with historic winds of 185 miles per hour. So that is insane to think about. There were some reports in the mountainous areas, 200 miles per hour. There have been landslides, fallen trees, power outages already reported. The Prime Minister saying there is no infrastructure in the region that can withstand a Category 5. And more Caribbean nations are at risk. The storm is expected to make landfall late Tuesday tonight, or early Wednesday in eastern Cuba, where hundreds of thousands of people have prepared to evacuate. We're talking up to 20 inches of rain forecast in those areas. Significant storm surge along the coast. The hurricane expected to reach the southeastern Bahamas by Wednesday evening. The warming of the world's oceans has caused climate change. Period. The world's oceans are warmer, and that's helped double Melissa's wind speed in less than 24 hours over the weekend. I mean, it's insane. Some of the sub-stories as we are following this, AP just posted a warning over displaced crocodiles. Officials in Jamaica warning residents in the capital of Kingston and surrounding areas to beware of crocodiles and avoid the floodwaters. Heavy rains and flooding associated with Melissa may result in crocodiles being displaced from their natural habitats. The only species of crocodile in Jamaica found primarily along the island's southern coast from St. Thomas to Westmoreland. Just wow. I mean, could it get any worse? Again, Melissa hits around 12 o'clock, 12:11. This is the strongest Atlantic hurricane to make landfall since 2019. This is the shot that we're able to share with you right now. You can see our camera continues to render to kind of update, but doesn't show much. It will be after Melissa has passed that the real story begins to find out just how devastating this storm really was. This is the strongest direct hit to the island in 174 years. So our thoughts and our prayers are for those folks right now in Jamaica. Bria Jones did a story last night. Check it out on Fox Local. Milwaukee ties, and it really was not difficult to find folks who are from Jamaica, who have family in Jamaica, who are maybe traveling or right now stuck in Jamaica, were not able to evacuate in time. They had a vacation plan. They went, everything was fine until Melissa hit. And so right now, this is the situation. People are, if they could not evacuate to higher ground, they are sheltering in place. As we're keeping an eye on what is happening right now for Jamaica, Cuba right now is trying to move 500,000 people to safer ground. So this storm still has plenty of punch left in it. The hurricane center was about 25 miles southeast of Negril and about 145 miles southwest of Guantanamo, Cuba. So a lot more of this storm left. In addition to the rain, just an intense amount of rain. There was a reggae jam, including references to Melissa, Hold On Jamaica, the singer crooned as he gave out shout out to all those in the Caribbean affected by the storm, our families in Cuba, our sisters in Haiti. So again, there's so many ties, so many people have family there, people may be visiting there, and this is the strongest hurricane to hit this island in 174 years. And so the question is, how can you prepare for something like that? The UN's International Organization for Migration said that it will dispatch solar lamps, blankets, indoor tents, generators, and other items from its hub in Barbados as soon as the storm crosses Jamaica. They know that many people will likely be displaced from their homes and that they will be in urgent need of shelter and relief. So the direct relief shipment of 100 field medic packs from its warehouse in California will also be shipped as soon as possible, as soon as the island's main airport reopens. So that's another issue. When will the airport open? But right now, the closest aid seems to be coming from the UN's International Organization for Migration. It has a logistics hub in Barbados, and as soon as Melissa crosses Jamaica, teams will dispatch. officials this morning were very concerned in Jamaica that people were not seeking shelter as that storm approached. More than 130 shelters were open across the island, but as of late Monday, fewer than 1,000 people had heeded the evacuation order. So there is a concern of, again, what will be left when the storm does make its way out. And you understand, and we are familiar with hurricanes here in the southern part of the country, southeast, and it's not so many times of not wanting to evacuate. Some people just physically can't. When you think about older communities, disabled communities, maybe people with small children, maybe people who don't have transportation, getting to those shelters is an obstacle. So it's not they didn't, refuse to evacuate. They just had no choice but to shelter in place. And so that is the fear. It's how are those people doing right now as we watch Melissa. We're going to take a break on the Wisconsin Live Desk and catch up on some of the other day's news. That's coming up after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. We continue to follow what is happening and what is not happening in the Capitol right now. There are some subcommittees that are meeting. One of those talking about political violence and the uptick in the country and what can be done to curb it, to stop this rhetoric that has fed so deeply into the violence that we've seen. Fortunately, or tragically, I should say, so many instances, Charlie Kirk's murder being the latest. So let's turn our eyes to the Capitol right now. Looks like they are in for some storms. Something that just happened within the last hour, some good news for federal workers. A federal judge in San Francisco has indefinitely barred the Trump administration from firing federal employees during the government shutdown, saying that labor unions were likely to prevail on their claims that the cuts were arbitrary and politically motivated. So this is good news for federal workers who are not being paid and also had the fear that they would be fired, as the administration had kind of threatened to do, that not everyone would return to their jobs, that some of those positions just would not return. But at the same time, the administration is standing, it says it is not going to do anything to stop SNAP benefits from running out. That is set to happen on November 1st. The administration has said it will not tap roughly $5 billion in contingency funds to keep benefits through the SNAP program flowing into November. So what does this mean? This means 42 million Americans after November 1st will not be receiving those benefits. Folks who are already food insecure will not receive those benefits. So we continue to watch what is happening there. We do know that about 24 states are now suing, trying to force the administration to tap into those contingency funds. So we will, of course, monitor that right here on Local as well as Fox 6 News, so don't miss a thing. We're going to take you to what is happening again on that subcommittee. That is, we're hearing testimony on political violence. So let's take you there and listen in a little bit more on some of the discussion this afternoon.
Reading the news, has called for a Republican to be murdered, for his children to be murdered, for the children to die in their mother's arms in order to persuade the Republican to change his policy views, and a man who says that he would urinate on the graves of multiple Republicans. Senator Booker, in this spirit of introspection, is standing by this endorsement. So I suppose I would invite, perhaps I should have looked, because Senator Booker has left the room, and I think I can guess why. Senator Booker, I think, should practice what he preaches, because this is the kind of moment. You cannot have a professor who wants to teach students and is going to desire to kill half of them. You certainly cannot have law enforcement officers who would engage in this kind of violent rhetoric against half of their constituents. So long as anyone stands by an endorsement such as that, their words are meaningless. They are shedding crocodile tears on the topic of political violence.
I find it just so astounding that we have professors that continue to be in classrooms and hold such views as I put on the posters behind me, and that parents are then having to address those issues with their kids. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to join all of my colleagues in the stance that political violence is never acceptable. It should be denounced at every turn, regardless of where it comes from. We've seen what happens when violence becomes a political tool. It's not protests. It becomes an attack on our very democracy itself, and it strikes at the principle that political change in this country should happen through healthy, rigorous debate and at the ballot box, not through fear or intimidation. And while political violence is rare, its impact is profound. Now, I want to ask a question specifically in the context of threats and intimidation that becomes aimed at public officials, and those are more than just personal attacks. They're attempts to make people too afraid to serve. We've seen that danger spread not just from members of Congress and state officials, local elected officials, but to judges and election workers now too. Now, protecting those who uphold our democratic system should not be controversial. Mr. Braniff, what does current research show about the surge in threats to members of Congress since 2017, and how can Congress strengthen threat assessment capacity without chilling legitimate speech?
Thank you, Senator. Individuals who wind up fixating on elected officials or the integrity of our election system are clearly espousing anti-democratic sentiment, right? And often those are observable, right? These individuals leak their intent or express things that others can pick up on. So in other contexts, 80% of school shooters leak their intent. About 50% of mass casualty attackers leak their intent. Right? So there's often these indications that someone is starting to self-medicate on the idea of violence. And that's an opportunity to do an intervention. And unfortunately, the U.S. Secret Service is, of course, an exceptional organization when it comes to behavioral threat assessment and management. There are other entities in the U.S. government that still train behavioral threat assessment and management. This is becoming a normal practice across the country. Some states have mandates for behavioral threat assessment and management, but we really need to invest in nationalizing these programs. I don't mean in having one national program, I mean having them scale nationally, ensuring that those individuals are trained, that those programs are resourced so they can operate with fidelity. But there's a really important opportunity to do non-punitive interventions for individuals before they get to the point of criminality, but have a handoff mechanism there in case they have crossed that criminal threshold so that we can maintain, ensure our democracy remains intact and these individuals receive accountability if that's what the situation calls for.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up, two follow-ups, if you don't mind. One, we've seen doxing of federal judges and attacks on elected officials. Which protective measures have proven most effective at deterring or preventing these types of threats?
Senator, I don't know that I have a great answer on the prevention of doxing. We live in a very online world. There's a lot of information available for all of us. We can all do the best we can to protect our personal information. I think that at the end of the day, a lot of what we've been talking about is important, and that are norms. What are the norms that we allow for that we think are acceptable in our nation, in our community, in our households, among our friends? Norms actually really do matter. Norms and culture shape behaviors. And we right now are really struggling with the power that the online world gives us without a lot of norms that work against our worst impulses.
Thank you. And one question for Mr. Hodges, and again, appreciate your service and all you've been through and your willingness to be here today. Based on your experience, Mr. Hodges, what operational or resource gaps must be addressed to safeguard democratic processes and better protect public servants?
That's an excellent question. I'm just a regular old patrol officer. I'm not in the meetings of management. I don't have the bird's eye view. I don't know. I don't know what resources we can dedicate to stemming this problem. I believe the other witness here had a great point earlier about intervention. I had never heard of that before from a scholarly point of view, and that sounded very promising. I think that we should look towards funding that if it gets the results that he spoke of.
Thank you. And I know my time is up, Mr. Chairman. I just offer and invite in closing that we as members of the committee, members of the Senate, as an entire body, can do a whole lot of good by leading by example.
Thank you. Senator Hawley.
So
Thank you very much,
listening
Mr. Chairman.
to
Thanks for
a
calling
little
this hearing on
bit
such an important topic. Sadly, it's very, very timely.
Of that, again, echoing that, very timely, this Senate subcommittee hearing on political violence. So let's take you to, Washington. There, actually, I think we can use this shot, right, Delaney? ELC 5? Okay. This is Jamaica. This is the first camera that we're getting a clear shot. This last 45 minutes, what we've seen is just a storm. We didn't have much visibility at all, but we do have a camera that has managed to survive the 185-mile-per-hour winds. You can see the winds, though, still quite something to contend with. You see some tarp, as some businesses, homes have tried to lessen the damage by using tarps. but we don't really know how effective that's been. There was a plea for folks to move to safer areas, shelters, but sadly, reports are that not many people appear to have done that. We can tell you that Melissa hits around 12:04, making landfall as a Category 5, the strongest direct hit to the island. Wow, we see a car there on the road. Again, we're not sure where this is in Jamaica. This is just a camera. Treasure Beach, Delaney is telling me. Treasure Beach. Yeah, as we're looking at this. Cuba right now is next in line for this storm, and Cuba right now is trying to move 500,000 people to safer ground. There was also a warning, a real warning, that came out about 16 minutes ago, warning people, residents in the capital of Kingston and surrounding areas to beware of crocodiles and avoid floodwaters because of the conditions. The heavy rain and the floods of Melissa may result in those crocodiles being displaced from their natural habitats. And so the island's Southeast Regional Health Authority put out an official social media post warning the public not to try and capture or harm any crocodile that appears displaced. So that is something that is going out now. But yeah, this is just one camera that we have managed to get our eyes on. And we're just gonna take a quick, this is, as you can see, still a lot of storm left in this as Melissa now heads to Cuba. And this is the tracker right now for Hurricane Melissa. 7 o'clock tonight, still we're looking at 150-mile-per-hour winds. Wednesday evening still will be a Category 2, but out to the ocean. But Category 2 possibly hitting some of those islands in the Caribbean there. She's losing steam right now to a Category 4 as it moves over land, but we're not sure what's going to happen here. But what we can tell you for sure is that Melissa right now is in the record books for one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes, 185-mile-per-hour winds. Wow. Some information for you to take in right now. We're going to take a break, and we will be back for the final minutes of the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
How's your Tuesday going? Hopefully it's a good one out there. Not too bad around here. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the folks in Jamaica. This is a live cam that has popped up in the last 15 minutes or so from Treasure Beach, a resort. And so this is what we're seeing from this resort cam. Not really sure how long this is going to stay up there for us, but what we can tell you as we continue to get live updates in, we know that this storm packed a punch, 180 mile per hour winds when it did make landfall, noon or so our time and Jamaica's time. We know that flooding and landslides have already been reported. The U.S. National Hurricane Center warned Monday of a life-threatening surge of up to 13 feet expected across southern Jamaica and massive wind damage expected at the core. We do see a few cars there on the roads, but don't be fooled that this is just a slice, I wouldn't even say a slice, of the picture here. We have no idea what's on the other side of this camera, how well protected this camera was, so this is not at all indicative of what we expect to find once the storm has completely cleared the island. But we know that this was a storm that was predicted to be catastrophic. The wind speed doubled in less than 24 hours over the weekend. Scientists, again, saying this is the fourth storm in the Atlantic this year to undergo such a rapid intensification of its wind speed and power. The reason why, it is because our oceans are getting warmer, and that's feeding these storms. So this is just something that we hope that the loss of life is minimal. And the recovery, it's hard to even wrap our minds around that right now because the storm is still battering the island. The last graphic that we have there. So, it's not until about 7 o'clock or so that we hope to see this pass beyond Jamaica and trek on next to Cuba. So we will continue to follow this on FOX6 News at 4 and of course on Fox Local for the 9 o'clock news. So don't miss that. As we come back here, we just want to kind of round things up of where we stand. Our other big story continues to be what is happening with the federal government. We are now in week 4. The deadline is November 1st. You've heard this now. 42 million Americans will lose their benefits if something does not happen. The Trump administration says it will not tap into the emergency fund to make sure that benefits go out November 1st. 20 or so states and the District of Columbia, these states are led by Democrats, are suing to make the administration tap into those funds to make sure that the food banks, the food programs that feed mothers and infants continue, that Head Start feeding programs continue on November 1st. Right now, if things do not change and if something is not done in the courts, if there's not some kind of injunctive relief, that is what's going to happen. Locally, food banks have sounded the alarm. They don't know what they're going to do, but they know that they're just going to do what they can. Our Andrew, new reporter Amuzu, spoke with was it Andrew or was it Durante Matthews? One of our reporters spoke with a gas station owner in Milwaukee who on himself is collecting money to buy gift cards so that senior citizens who come to his gas station, he can at least give them a little something to get what they can. And so those are the kinds of grassroots efforts that we may very well see more of if something is not done. So there was a little bit of news, breaking news, that a judge has ordered the extension, barring the Trump administration from firing federal workers while they are furloughed. So keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on this. Game 4 of the World Series is tonight, 7 o'clock, and hopefully it'll be a fast one. I leave you with this. Our coworkers, Mary Stoker-Smith, Tom Wachs, Ted Perry, they're staying to 2 o'clock and beyond, because that's when that game ended, along with our director, Mark, and Maddie, our producer of the 10 o'clock news, Leslie, our assignment desk editor, Lily Zhao, all of them just really just waiting as you were to see the World Series, that game end. And so game 4 is tonight. The Blue Jays are down, but not out. I mean, Shohei Ohtani had a phenomenal night. Stop me if you've heard this before. And if you are not going to watch the World Series tonight, perhaps you are more ready for the basketball season to start. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Night. Tip-off for the Bucks tonight. It's at 7 o'clock. We're hosting the game. All fans will receive a rally towel and a special in-game moment to honor those impacted by breast cancer as we come to the close of Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. Remember the survivors. Remember those who are still fighting the disease. And also remember those who this month can also be triggering. For family and for people who have had breast cancer. So let's just wrap each other in pink. And
we're joined right now by Corey Breton, head of venues at Cosm. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And obviously, you mentioned that there's just so much excitement around this game number 4. Fans are lining up